All right. Just in time for the trash trucks. They come and make noise.
I'm sitting patiently through an ad.
Okay, you're sitting patiently through an ad.
Yeah, I am.
All right, I think we're live because I can see myself up here, so I'm gonna minimize this so I'm not distracted. You guys let me know if you can, when you can see and hear us. Yep, we sees you, Fuzz. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Oh, how do I sound? Because on our last live stream, something happened to y'all where there was like a loud noise or distortion. And turns out my Audio-Technica mic was literally on just death's door. It was dying and it was having issues. So I've been an Audio-Technica mic user for 20 years, and I've always used their boom mics or condenser mics. But the last two that I've bought haven't lasted a year, so I'm actually trying a new brand for the very first time. And the very first video that we use this new Sennheiser mic on comes out on Sunday, so this is kind of a trial by fire sort of a situation.
Yeah, and we set everything up and nothing sounded right, and we had a small panic attack,
which is why we were 15 minutes late. But it turns out every microphone's gain is just a little bit different, and inside my camera I still had everything set up for the Audio-Technica, so when it comes to live streams, so I had to just tool around with that.
Tony Marie says, why don't we see your mic?
Why don't we see my mic?
I think they're referring to the Instagram post, maybe.
Oh, if you follow me on Instagram, yeah, I kind of had a little rant about this trend of, people that kind of hold their mic. This is a bad example because this is too big. But when they just have these tiny little mics and they're just like this, and I'm like, When I was coming up, and making like films in high school with high 8 cameras and stuff. Like the concept of being able to afford a lav mic, a wireless lapel mic or something that you could hide, like that was aspirational. We wanted that. So this whole notion that here we are in 2024 where, the sky is really the limit, and we're insisting on taking technology designed to make it so we can just talk and walk and seem normal. Suddenly it's like, hey, everybody. I'm talking to you to this tiny, it's just, I don't know. I think it's goofy. I'm not trying to be judgmental. I think it's goofy. It makes me laugh, actually. Yeah. So anyway, Kristi had a good idea to kind of start the stream because some of you have been hanging out for the last 15 minutes while I've been running around, making coffee. Cheers, everyone.
We have people from Colorado. We have people from, Veltman's on the road heading back to Palm Springs to where he lives.
Is he okay? Is he doing?
Yeah, they're on their. He's living
his best life.
Chris lives his best life, pretty much all the time.
Nice.
No, he's driving back to home from Palm Springs.
Gotcha.
We've got people in North Carolina. There's where was Mike? Was it Mike? No. Early on, Mike. Yeah, Mick. Mm-hmm. Mick is. I think he's in Australia. Was that where you were from?
Well, I'm seeing Netherlands. James Foss is from Minnesota.
Oh no, not. He's in the UK.
Okay.
And says winter has arrived.
Wow.
I can't relate. Sorry.
We went swimming last night.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that that's a nice little segue because some of you were asking like how the outdoor project is going, and I thought Kristi was like, "Oh, we should share some pictures," but she wasn't sure. So I'm going to attempt to share a picture live.
Well, you got to show the super chat that asked that.
Okay, let me do that.
It was like.
I got it.
Jay
Lauren Smith.
Oh, look at me and my good memory.
Look at you. Jay Lauren Smith asks any new pool pics. And I want to start off by showing this. That is what on the middle of the week, I don't know if you can see it, if it's very clear.
You can see what it is, I think.
But that was waiting for us on Wednesday morning. I woke up and I was looking out the window and I was like, what is that? So I went outside and this,
Clem calls it a nope rope.
yeah, a little baby rattlesnake, probably, definitely from this season, maybe last season, was just kind of basking in our enjoying the view. And so I've dealt with rattlesnakes. This is not my first rodeo. And so I was like, okay, well, let's get him out of here. Let's relocate him. But then I realized that back when I lived on a ranch and everything, like I had snake tongs and I had, a bucket with a lid and all that. I don't have that anymore. So I was like, what do I do with it? So I got him in the pool net and I was like, okay, what am I allowed to do? Because I don't live out on a ranch. We do live in somewhat of a residential area. And I'm like, what are the rules? Because back in the ranch, you just drive up the dirt road a little bit, dump them, and drive back. But I'm like, am I allowed to let him go, like, just outside my fence line? Do I go across the street? And I'm like, So I ended up calling the fire department. And they came and got him and relocated him, and they were very kind about it and everything. But it was a fun morning. And then some of you have asked, the pool is still actually being worked on. The project is not done. But Kristi took this photo the other day that I thought was, it's nice that we got our umbrellas finally. And so we're playing with umbrella placement, and obviously it's going to have to change as the day goes. But it was nice to get the umbrellas up and kind of see what they look like. Excuse me, we're currently I think we have settled on stands for the umbrella. Like, we found our brand.
Yeah.
I think we've bought like 4 different types of umbrella stands, and I could probably make a little micro channel where I review umbrella stands. We like one of them, but we're not fans of 2 of them, really. So, but anyway, this was a nice photo. You can see some of the pool design. We don't have our landscaping in. We don't have gravel in. And the wall is not painted. So that's just raw concrete stucco. And then to just start everyone's Friday off on a good note, because you guys ask, Katie. That's Katie waking up in the morning, living her best life. Just oblivious to, and you can kind of see her down in the lower corner here under my elbow. Just oblivious to just
She's
stuff.
she's such a cute girl. Like, when I get out of bed. Well, Andrew wakes up before I do.
Yes.
And then when I get out of bed, she loves to go and get on Andrew's side and put her butt right next to his pillow.
Right on it. Crop dusts it all morning. All morning.
Anyway.
When I go to bed at night, I have to just kind of do this to my pillow because I just got Katie hair all over it. It's amazing that I haven't come up with like some form of canine pink eye or something. So anyway, I see that I'm already behind on questions, so I'm just going to start at the top. And, well, actually, J. Lauren Smith, we started with you. Thank you very much for your support. Hope you enjoyed the photos and some of the stories. But now I'm going to go back to the top, the very first.
Now we know how to add
Photos.
pictures.
Yeah,
to
J.
the
Lauren.
live stream. Look at us.
Look at us.
We have
Look at
come,
us. Who would have thought? Look at us.
We've come so far.
We've come so far. Did you ever think? I didn't think.
On a live stream?
Nah.
No. We have had our quality of our live streams have been among the worst I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
Up until like the last one and this one, I think we've unlocked the secret to live streaming.
We have finally caught up to where everyone else has been for a decade.
Yeah, right.
Give us time.
And we just leveled up again in real time.
Yeah, now you're getting overlays.
Yeah.
Getting overlays.
Who knows what's coming next?
I might start gaming. I might start gaming live. Yeah, it could happen. A cooking show live. I don't know. Multicam.
I think you should do. I think you should do a show where you mix your drinks.
After hours.
After hours.
After hours with because I do enjoy playing around with mixology quite a bit. Okay, I had the question up, and then we got off topic. But now I'm going to put it back, so I didn't ignore you. Couch Potato Audio. Did you see Danny's video, guys? I think he took your thoughts completely out of context. Yes, I did see Danny's video. I spoke to Danny Ritchie of GR Research at length, actually, for about 2 hours this week about that video, about just all sorts of stuff. And it was a fine conversation. He's free to have his opinion, as I'm free to have mine. And yeah, I don't know if something was taken out of context or taken to some direction that maybe I didn't intend, or that I see how it got there. And so this is a great opportunity, though, for me to actually talk about one thing I do want to talk to anyone watching this at live or in the future. The video in question that kind of started all this is like from 2.5 weeks ago. So it did catch me a little bit off guard, because here I am gearing up for what we're going to talk about, like the Anthem STR. So I actually thought people's reaction in our comments and in my DMs and stuff was about like this Anthem video, and I was like, no one watched it. So anyway, I had to go back, kind of refresh my memory, and I rewatched our video. And I saw the clips that Danny used in his video, and I was like, oh, okay. This one's on me a little bit. This one's on me. So I do want to offer my sincerest apologies to any of our viewers that watched that particular Unplugged where I said, who cares, or that parts don't matter. Because I think that when I said that, first of all, I was trying to make a bit of a joke. That's where the Buffalo Nickel paperclip bazooka gum wrapper thing came from. Like, I thought that was pretty clear that I was kind of joking. But in case it wasn't clear, I do want to apologize to any viewers or enthusiasts who felt that my remarks were in judgment of them, because that was not my intention at all. And it really actually kind of got to Kristi and I this week that was some people's takeaway, because if you watch this channel for any length of time, you know that we try and be incredibly inclusive. We try and cover the widest range of products, and we end every video with the only person who has to like what it is that you want to participate in this hobby is you. And so my remarks were not about passing judgment. If you want to tinker, if you come across a pair of vintage speakers in a Goodwill or a Facebook Marketplace that obviously need repair or updating or whatever, like I get it. And the last thing that I wanted was for anyone to watch that segment or that comment and go, oh, he's looking down his nose at those of us who like to build our own speakers or who like to just play around. I get it, and for that, I am deeply and most sincerely sorry. I am. I really, really am. As for kits and how people do business and what like, obviously, we're all going to have differences of opinion. That's the spice of life. That's what makes all of this so damn interesting and compelling. So yeah, that's really kind of all I have to say about it. To be honest, I will not be making like a react video. I will not be doing anything like that, because it is how I operate usually, is just, I'll just talk to the person. And that's exactly what I did. I spoke to Danny Ritchie for like 2 hours, like I said. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at. But I hope anyone out there, you will accept my apology, or in time accept my apology, because that was not my intention. And, well, I'm sure it'll come up. So I don't want to take any more time, because it's stacking up. But, Fuzz, I kind of, Couch Potato Audio and Fuzz, I think we're sort of tackling the same thing here right away. Yeah, same deal. I'm apologetic to those who felt judged by my comment. But honestly, I don't know what else to say. I think a lot of different arguments sort of got intertwined and conflated.
I mean, I guess one of the most common questions or assumptions is that you don't, or do you really not care about parts, or that assumptions wise being like that you don't care, and that you don't know, like that you have a lack of knowledge.
Okay, and that's a fair critique. Do I believe that parts don't matter? It's not that. It's not that. And I guess we're going to go back to Couch Potato's audio where he does comment that our comments were kind of taken out of context. And in that instance, I think that brings us back to the context. In the context of the conversation we were having, we were talking about a $450 pair of ELAC Debut 3.0 bookshelf speakers,
Which we had just reviewed.
The week before.
And that particular video was an unplugged session. So typically after every Sunday video, the following Friday we do an unplugged. Today's is live because there weren't
a lot of
enough
questions
about the STR, the Anthem STR, to warrant an actual recorded unplugged.
Yeah.
And
so that's how we do it.
yeah.
And in the original ELAC video, we put the ELAC obviously through our normal battery of testing, but we also A/B tested it against 3 or 4 other loudspeakers, SVS Nano, Bowers & Wilkins 600 S3 bookshelf speakers, Sonus Faber Lumina 2s, and there's one other one, and it escapes me, and for that I apologize. And obviously the ELAC was the least expensive model of the 3 speakers we compared it to, 3 or 4 speakers we compared it to. And we go on record as showing their responses and their performance overlaid with one another. And my takeaway, and this was further expanded upon in the Unplugged, was that for $450, seeing that it is easily able to be shown that the ELAC Debut Reference 3.0 on an objective level performs to the same quality or better than speakers that are $800, $900, and at one instance, $1,200 a pair. Does that make the ELAC better? No, it makes it different because obviously there's just going to be certain qualities of sound that some people are going to prefer and others are going to prefer something else. But on an objective level, I felt very comfortable and confident in saying that the ELAC was as good, or at least as good as the $1,000-ish speakers we have in-house. And at that level, this is the context of the comment regarding parts and crossovers and stuff. At that level, if you're already getting, call it $1,000 worth of performance, it is my belief that I don't think you need to lose sleep or worry about how you arrive there because you're already ahead of the curve. It would be one thing if this was a $450 speaker and I benched it and I was like, oh, something's weird. And then I put it up against $800 speakers, and those speakers are trouncing the ELAC. And so I go back and I get, say, a Fluence XL8S bookshelf speaker at $179 a pair. And at $450 a pair, the ELAC isn't even able to rise to the standard of $160, $170 pair of speakers. That's when maybe you're like, ooh, what's going on? In which case, I am not the owner of the products that are sent to us for review, but I am responsible for their well-being, care, and ultimate, quality, if you will, upon their return. Otherwise, I get charged and fined and all this other stuff. And so I don't open speakers up in the off chance that maybe I have an accident. I strip a screw, or worse, in the process of opening something up, I damage it, which makes me liable. Now, obviously, I can write ELAC a check for $450 if that were to happen. But a $5,500 pair of speakers on top of all the other things that we've bought this year for the channel, no, I can't just eat that for the sake of like, oh, what's going on? But that wasn't the case with the ELAC. The ELAC was performing at a level, let's call it twice its price, at which point, from my point of view, my perspective, it would be better, mentally healthier maybe for some customers to not go down that rabbit hole and start losing sleep over, But if you're different than that, if you're still someone that's like, okay, well, this is my baseline, $450 speaker performs as good as $1,000, $1,200 speaker. I wonder how far I can take it. You do you. You do you. But a lot of the comments that we got about, well, I wonder what's in it and this and that, they're already kind of coming from a dubious place. And that's really more of the context or the issue that I have.
And I just want to say something really quickly. I know there was a commenter, I think maybe the name was HIFI Man or something.
Yeah.
Who thought that I brought up the crossover part and the unplug based on his question or their question. I don't know if it's a guy, but well, I guess anyway.
It doesn't matter.
And I just want to say that to you, I did not mention that with you, the intention of like focusing on your comment. I honestly didn't have your name or comment in front of me at that time, so I was speaking more generally. But if I understand, it seems like you felt like targeted, and I apologize for that. That was not what was happening. The situation I believe at hand here is that a comment like that, like where people are always asking about the crossover and internal part or something like that, that comes up a lot. It isn't just this video in particular. It wasn't just about the ELEX. It's just this occurs quite frequently no matter what the product is, and it's impossible to always address something like that.
Yeah.
And frankly, we don't do that on this channel. It's not something we've ever done. So to answer like, well, what about a crossover? We truly can't answer that question. Like we can't say, oh, well, it's this, here's the part piece number and whatever. And we don't know, is that going to make a difference to you? I mean, that's another thing. It's very difficult to answer. All we can say is, Andrew goes to great lengths and takes measurements of everything. I know some people don't. Maybe you haven't watched in a while and you don't know that, but he does. And then we organize our thoughts about our subjective feelings and how they correlate to the measurements that Andrew takes. And then we put that information into a video and hope we make it.
And hope we're as clear as possible.
Clear and make it digestible as possible. So, but I just wanted to say, I know that person felt personally picked on. Yeah, and I want you to know that is not what was happening. But I apologize for making you feel that way. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to make that clear.
And about when it comes to parts, because I'm looking in the chat and some people are like, well, would you ever consider doing a crossover upgrade and a crossover change, or do you really understand? And I've seen other comments that say, oh, you don't understand parts. And it's like, I struggle with how to answer these types of questions or how to address these types of criticisms, because they're largely based on assumption. And for example, I have a small collection of vintage Bang & Olufsen speakers that I've been maintaining since the mid-90s, late 90s. And some of the speakers in my collection are going on 30 years old. And I have had to replace the drivers or the foam surrounds on them. I've had to source new power supplies and things like that just to keep them running, And the only reason I do that is because these particular loudspeakers, while I don't get the opportunity to listen to them all that often, they've been with me for a while and they mean something to me. And so, yes, I am okay with buying parts and buying parts. Sorry if you just got a knock on buying parts and tinkering and things like that. But do I want to change the internals? No, I try and source as close to OEM parts as possible because I love that speaker for a particular reason. And I want to maintain that as much as possible. And the same was true when I had B&O turntables. Eventually, The reason I don't have a B&O turntable anymore is I literally could not find the parts for it.
Can you believe he threw it in the trash?
We're going to get more hate for that.
Oh,
Thank you.
oh, I'm so sorry. Nick.
Anyway, I had been trying to repair this turntable
The
for...
look he just gave me.
I was trying to repair this turntable for the better part of a year, and I literally could not source every part it needed OEM. So yeah, it got recycled. But to say that, like, I'm gonna try and phrase this, because I've been thinking, I knew this question was gonna come up, and I'm gonna try and phrase this as best I can. There's no right or wrong way, and I mean this. There's no right or wrong way to design or you build something. Like, there isn't. You can experiment. The results can be bad, but sometimes you have to create something, maybe ass backwards, if you will, just to see what happens. So I want to make sure that there's no judgment to anyone watching this, that you're like, well, I build my own speakers. There's no right or wrong way to do this. And it's okay if, for example, sorry B&W, if you're going to feel picked on. It's okay, for example, if you're a person that doesn't like the B&W sound. It's okay. I get it. I've been in your shoes. I too have not liked everything that they've done. But just because it's not something that you like doesn't mean that it's not going to be right for someone else or their situation. And we need to be really careful sometimes about the fact that we're like, oh, look at this frequency response, look at this dip, look at this peak, look at this, look at that. That's bad. And then to frame everything through that lens of, because I can point to something and make you fear it, angry about it, or whatever, that means that all of the things that led up to the creation of that were nefarious, bad, people didn't know what they were doing, they're ripping us off and stuff like that. That's not how this works. It's okay. And not every speaker needs to be fixed. It really doesn't. Because, like, I got a bunch of questions and comments over the last couple of days, like, well, anyone that thinks the Klipsch Cornwall 4s don't need to be fixed is an idiot. And it's like, then call me an idiot. I don't think the Klipsch Cornwall 4s are perfect. I never said that they were perfect. And I also think that they're not going to be the perfect speaker for everyone. But I really like them. I do. And I like them knowing that they are not perfect. If we roll the tape back, I'm going to tell you a little quick story. When I lived in Nashville, Tennessee, I was fortunate enough to spend time in an RCA studio, A or B, used to be Elvis's studio. It was currently occupied by Ben Folds, the singer-songwriter. And I was doing some filming for a documentary type project for that studio and Ben Folds. Ben had, at the time, I don't know, I'm gonna say at least a dozen pianos in the main recording space of the studio. And I'm talking, they were of all types. You know, baby grands, verticals, keyboards, you name it. But he had one piano that looked like a family of honey badgers had lived in it. And they had just tore the living tarnation out of it. And this piano had missing keys. It just, I mean, literally, if you had said it was a prop from the movie Twister, I would have believed you. And he played that piano in his records. Not like for an entire song or anything, but he would use it, and he had it all mic'd up, and it was like one of his prized possessions. And he found it on like a roadside, if memory serves. He found it like on a roadside, and he thought it just had the coolest, most interesting tone for the keys that did work. You know what I mean? And I thought of that story this week. Katie's getting comfortable. I thought of that story this week because obviously That piano could have been improved upon, obviously. It could have been restored. It could have been fixed. It probably could have even been made better. But he really liked it the way that it was, and it served its purpose the way that it was, and that's what was more important to him. I fell in love with the Cornwall 4s because of what they are, not because I ever looked at them and went, I wonder what they could be. And it's important to anyone watching this channel that you understand that I look at everything through the lens of what did the artist, the creator of this speaker, this amp, this whatever, what was the message, the feeling, the day-to-day livability of this meant to be? Not what I think it should be, but what did they want, what experience did they want me to have, and am I having that experience? Now, if you look at things a little bit differently, that's fine. But it's important that we all understand what we are talking about. And that's why when I say, when a $400 speaker performs, demonstrably performs as good as a $1,200 pair of speakers, this is not the time to look the gift horse in the mouth from my perspective. This is a winner. This is an absolute winner, and I believe that might have been the title of the video. This is an absolute winner. And anything outside of the context of that is kind of putting emphasis on topics for other purposes, because that's what we've always been about. And so everything past that, if you don't agree with me, that's fine. If you don't like me, that's fine. I get it. I'm not going to be for everybody, I'm sure, you know, but I'm also not going to engage in ambulance chasing or anything like that. Like, I stand by what I said. I apologize to the people that I wasn't clear enough about, but I hope that my explanation in the last 15, 20 minutes has sufficed. So, thank you. Clem, we're moving on. Clem, I have SVS Titans, an R1000A. Oh, wait. I have SVS Titans, an R1000A, an SL1500C. Sounds great, but with my high ceilings, I choke at 80 to 85 dB. Thoughts on adding an RCAM PA40 until I upgrade? Are the pre to DMP 8 or similar later? Is the R1000A the Technics?
Oh, I think he means the Yamaha. Maybe.
Oh, the Yamaha 1000A.
1000A.
Because I'm okay.
Maybe.
Okay. With your high ceilings, I choke at 80, 85.
Yeah, Clem clarifies Yamaha.
Okay. Clem, are you running YPOW, and is bass management engaged? Because that could give maybe the potential for a little bit more headroom out of the amp. As for the RCAM PA40, unfortunately, I can't steer you in any direction there. I have not heard it. So I don't want to talk out of turn. With respect to Yamaha, I have to speak from the standpoint of the 2000A because it's more current, and that's the one we have in-house at the moment. I can say that the XPA amps from Emotiva work very well, and you could probably get some pretty monstrous power.
Clem says that they disengage YPOW.
They disengage, so they're going like, okay, they're going pure audio type stuff. Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, Clem, I can't give you any sort of direction on RCAM's PA40 apart from the last RCAM experience I had with the SA25. Obviously, I really liked it. That would lead me to believe that RCAM's current sound quality and everything like that is excellent, but I have not heard that particular product. When it comes to just, if you want juice, if you need the oomph, you need the power, Emotiva XPA Gen 3, or maybe they're on Gen 4 now. I don't know. That's where I start. He also, I have an SVS Titans R1000S. You may also consider adding a sub, a properly integrated subwoofer. Can open up the sensation of scale and capability of a tower, even a tower as good as the Titans. I run my Titans full range, but I still use a subwoofer, and it does matter. It does help properly implemented. So that's kind of the best I got, and I hope that that's somewhat helpful. And I'm sorry I can't speak specifically about the RCAM. William Crumbly, thank you so much. I don't know if you meant to attach a question. If you did, sorry, I'm not seeing it here. Another anonymous man, here's to the weekend, folks. Cheers, here's to the weekend. Wirehead, hey buddy. I just want to throw this in as a small thanks for helping me pick some of the best new gear I've bought in 40 years, and I've been playing with this stuff. Andrew and Kristi, thank you. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. Oh,
thank you.
Wirehead's a
regular. Wirehead's great. Wirehead's great.
Thank you for saying that. We
appreciate
it.
We really do. Pete M, happy Friday from Austin, Texas, I'm assuming. This should be an awesome live chat. We hope so. We like hanging out with you guys. Santiago said, thinking of buying an outdoor sub with dual coils. It requires a stereo amp to power one coil per channel. Is it okay to bridge the coils and use a mono amp to power it? Polk Atrium Sub 100. I cannot say. I really can't. I have no idea what a Polk Atrium Sub 100 even is. And I still have not even started my outdoor speaker journey. So I have never actually wired up an outdoor speaker of any kind. I'm about to, hopefully in the next month or two, start having to worry about those sorts of things, in which case you're probably all going to come along for the ride with me as I learn a new facet of this industry. But I'm just going to keep it real with you. I have no idea how to address your question because I have never encountered it. I've never experienced it, and I know nothing about the Polk Atrium Sub 100. So I am really, really sorry. If you have another question, please feel free to ask that one. But I don't know how to answer your question. Sorry. Afonso in the house.
Apparently, Afonso recently got his dream job.
Really?
Yeah, he just said...
Do tell.
I don't know.
Oh.
But he did say somehow we have something to do with it. I don't know. I said we'll chat later.
Okay. I would love to know.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations, Afonso. Coffee's on me. Thinking about buying KEF Q350s, looking for soundstage and accuracy. Anything better for the price? I work with mixing and mastering. The Q350s, if I'm not mistaken...
Those are bookshelves.
They're bookshelves, but are they the two-way or the three-way?
I don't know.
Do you mind looking up Q350 so I can at least see the picture? I think they're the larger two-way. Looking for soundstage and accuracy. Please hold.
Sorry, I was in the middle of doing something else.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What am I looking up?
Q350. Okay, that's what I thought they were. All right. I have not heard those specific speakers. The previous generation Q series, we had the 750s.
Which were towers.
Which were their smaller towers. The speakers behind me are new. KEF, I believe they're calling them Q11 Metas. And the entire Q line is getting an update, or has gotten an update. I believe the embargo lifted yesterday. And if it didn't, then blame Acoustics because they broke it.
I don't think we broke anything.
No, we don't. I mean, I saw it on Instagram from Acoustics yesterday, so there you go. Anyway, I will say I don't know anything about the Q350s, but so far We've had these speakers here, this Q line here, for a couple of weeks now.
We're safe.
And so far, I will say that from about the low mid bass on up to the not quite the full brilliance treble of 10, 15, and 20 kilohertz, but in that kind of wheelhouse where 90% of music really does exist. The accuracy of these speakers, or this Q line, appears to be very, very good. These towers are not the most accurate or articulate or firmest with bass, but it's very serviceable. It's very good. But the mid-range and all of that is nice. As far as pinpoint accuracy, I don't know if I would go that far, but it is respectable. You definitely get a little bit more precision from the R line with respect to the solidity of dimension and definition of instruments and vocalists in three-dimensional space. But that comes from the cabinet, in my experience. That comes more from the cabinet and how inert and more dead it feels. For example, I don't have a scale or the actual figures in front of me, but just when you go to pick up the R3 Meta, it feels as if it's close in weight to this entire tower. And that is just going to result in just a much more tightly focused image. For the price, I don't know if you can do better or worse. I don't know. KEF has always been a very easy speaker to recommend, and a very easy speaker that just sort of goes really well and probably performs like the ELAC, a step or two above. So I don't have any reservations about if you were to buy these, would you be happy? I think you would. As far as speakers that, in our experience, that have demonstrated a little bit more soundstage chops, our Q Acoustic Concept 50s do a better job of sound staging than even, say, the R3 Meta. The R3 Meta feels a little bit more precise, but the sense of openness and scale and whatnot with the Concept 50s is better. Now, Concept 50 is more than the KEF Q350s, but maybe you would have a similar experience with Q Acoustics 50 whatever line. So that might be a speaker to consider. Sonus Faber Lumina 2s do very well in the soundstage department. So yeah, that's kind of what I got. It's kind of what I got, because I'm trying to, the ELACs were no slouch, but I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that they're going to be better or worse than maybe the 350s. So it's kind of where I'm at. Can't wait to hear about the job. Greg, just got new Polk R700s hooked up to my Emotiva TA2. It's 120 watts per channel. Thank you for telling me that. Is it worth it to buy wire the speakers? Honestly, I personally don't think so. And that's born out of many, many experiments over the last 20 years where I've been doing buy wires, I've done different jumper cables, I've used just the straps that come in, and I can't say that I've ever passed the litmus test of a double blind where I am just constantly nailing when it's buy wire cable versus jumper cables versus, specialty made jumpers and things like that. So there might be a little bit of a placebo effect with that kind of stuff, and I further back up my feelings about it in talking with a very well-known speaker designer many, many years ago, who said at one point when they were coming to market with the version 2 of one of their more affordable lines, one of the quote updates to version 2 was they added the ability for the speaker to be bi-wired or bi-amped. And I asked, was it necessary? Did you find any performance gains? And unfortunately, his answer to me was, it wasn't ultimately necessary, but it's something that customers kept asking for, so we just did it. But he was like, we didn't really do much with the design to facilitate any sort of enhancements or improvements. So yeah, I'm not the biggest proponent of like bi-wiring or things like that. And even bi-amping in the active realm or when using DSP, that's different. But putting, say, two of the identical amplifiers. Let's say we have Emotiva XPA monos, or not XPA. Let's go Bass X monos, and putting one on the bass inputs and one on the treble inputs. And so we're at, I don't know, 400 watts, 200 and 200, in each. That would still kind of be the equivalent of just putting a 400 watt amplifier and using the jumper cables. Are there going to be minute differences? It's possible. But again, in many, many double-blind tests over the years, I can't say with any 100% assuredness, and I've never been in the presence of people with 100% assuredness that have been able to say, okay, that's bi-amped versus just a more powerful stereo amplifier. Now, again, if you're using DSP, you're doing active bi-amping and things like that. That's a whole other ball of wax. So if you like the way your product sounds now, just be happy. Scott, happy Friday. Love your videos. Hope you're doing well. Love my Martin Logan B1 Foundation speakers. I love that. Thank you. And I'm glad that you like them because they were quite something. Let's see. Here we go. Which would you recommend? A Martin Logan versus Magnepan and a sub? And why is it Martin Logan? Well, it really depends what Martin Logan we're talking about, because you could go with the, their dynamic driver speakers, or you can go with their electrostatics. Now, I'm assuming you're talking about their electrostatics. Why would I go with Martin Logan? That's funny. I don't know what I would go with because it's been so long since I lived with either. In the early 2000s to mid-2000s, I was a mad aficionado of both brands and their electrostatics or quasi-ribbon speakers, if you're talking about Magnepans. I've had CLS, I've had CLS2Zs, I've had Arius, Ascents. Didn't make it to Prodigy. I had Clarities. I had not Scripps. What was it? What was the one below? Scripts were the on-wall, but then they had a little black one. Scenario. Oh, I had Scenarios. Those were fun. Those little speakers, they didn't get enough credit. They were fun. As far as Magnepan, I've had MMGs, MG12s, 1.6s, and 3.6s. They both have their pros and cons. They really do. They both have their pros and cons, and there were days where I would swear to myself, because I had them at the same time, there were days where I'd swear to myself one was better than the other, but then I'd switch my music, and I'd be like, oh man, the Magnepan can't hang, but my Logans are kicking ass. So yeah, I don't know which one I would prefer, especially, and I'm talking about my experience from early 2000s. You know what I mean? So I have no idea what either company's up to today. Martin Logan obviously is putting a little bit more of their emphasis and focus on their dynamic driver speakers and their subwoofers. As for Magnepan, I know they suffered a tragedy not too long ago in the loss of their founder, but they're still going strong. That doesn't mean that the company is in any way destitute. But I don't know what they're up to. So I don't know which one I would choose, but you got me thinking about some really fun times that I had. So thank you. Frederick, no question. Just a bump for more Katie on the channel. Oh, she's staged. I didn't notice that she's hiding from y'all right now. She went behind the kef.
Oh, yes. That's one of her favorite spots over in that corner. She's so smart. She sits behind the speaker when we're watching.
Or she sits behind the couch so that the sound pressure and waves don't bother her.
Yeah.
But she doesn't want to not be in the room.
Yes.
So let's see. Is this the right photo? No, hold on. Daily dose of Katie. Little Katie shot. It's a little endorphin kick. There you go.
If you're just now joining in and you saw the other couple of photos he cycled through, yes, that's a snake.
Yeah, woke up to a rattlesnake
You
this
can
week.
start the stream from the beginning.
When we're done.
Hear all about it.
All right. Hey guys, I have a Max 700 B&W 803Ds What could elevate me towards that sweet engulfing soundstage experience? Bandwidth, deckwear. Where should I go from here to get the most exquisite vinyl sound? Well, I will say what I always say. And I don't know how you would ever know that you arrive at, quote, perfection. So do take that, what I'm about to say, with a little bit of a grain of salt. But make sure that your setup, your speaker, room, seated position, relationship is dialed in before you start spending any more money in chasing any more benchmarks, if you will. Now let's just assume it is dialed in. It's dialed in, and you know it is. Okay. Where should I go towards that sweet engulfing soundstage experience? Soundstage is going to be partially how the speaker is constructed. I believe that B&W, especially in the 800 series, are capable of vast articulate sound stages. So it's not, the speaker is not going to be your limitation here, but it is a part of placement. So for example, let's say your 803s are 6 inches to 12 inches out from your front wall. If it's possible to pull them out another 12 inches, the sensation of soundstage depth is going to increase because sound is going to be able to travel, bounce, reflect over a greater distance than when it was close. So that could help you. But when you do that, you may also have to now account for your seated position and change that a little bit. And you may end up, really experimenting with speaker placement for quite a while. But that's how you're going to get the soundstage to just be like, oh my God. As for the most exquisite vinyl sound possible, I have never used a Deckware phono preamp ever in my life. I'm a huge proponent of their brand, and I'm a customer, but I've never used their phono preamp. To date, as a standalone phono preamp, the Bandwidth phono preamp that we reviewed years ago ranks among the best that I've ever heard. It's really good. It's really good. And I do think that I want to say it was like $4,000. And in the grand scheme of things, I know that's a lot of money, but I've seen phono stages that go up into 10, 12, 15,000 bucks. And I think that it's probably top tier, the Bandwidth. I think that's probably top tier performance, and at its price, it's probably not too bad. So if you're looking for kind of an end of a road phono preamp based on my somewhat limited experience, that one ranks pretty high for me. I really dug it. It was there's a lot to get into, and it's customizable, and there's, oh boy, you can really tinker. But boy, I think it's kind of worth it. I liked it a lot. So, Couch Potato, this is why I love you guys. Your ability to explain things to dummies like me. Hey man, no one's dumb. No one's a dummy. There are no bad questions. I do my best to answer, but I fully admit that I don't have the answers for everything. But I hope when I'm all done with my career and I walk away and call it a day, at a minimum, I really hope that we always made it approachable and that people felt free to ask what they wanted to ask and come away with an experience and an understanding that made sense for them. That's really my goal. Vadim, what has been the best coffee that you've had and the worst? How particular are you? Do you go single origin by this farmer or simpler like Wi-Fi? Hope you all doing well. You guys are amazing.
I responded to this earlier, and
you did?
I said, well, it's not a Keurig.
It's not a Keurig. It's not a Keurig. When we met, you had a Senseo machine.
Yes.
And I did have a Keurig.
You did.
I did.
And I thought they were terrible tasting. The coffee was terrible from the Keurig. I believe you used Dunkin'.
No. I used a different. Well, I had some Dunkin', and no judgment against Dunkin'. But the brand, it was just called Coffee House.
It was not good. And I had a Senseo coffee machine, which uses pods
little pads filled with
they're
coffee.
little pods. It's like
Yeah.
like a coffee filter, like 2 coffee filters
Yeah.
that have grounds in the middle. And what I liked about that machine is that it produced. It sort of looked like a cappuccino
Yeah.
when it came out. It was a little foamy at the top, and I really like that.
Yeah.
But we have gone full coffee nerds over here.
But we're not snobs.
No, that's why I said nerds.
Nerds. I love that. Okay.
And we have a what is it called?
It's a Breville.
A Breville.
It's just technically Breville's entry-level model, which now are way cheaper than what I paid for it. So 2 years ago for Christmas, we had kind of made a little bit of a pact. Or 3 years
Oh,
ago.
you bought it for me.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. So 3 years ago, we had made a bit of a pact going into Christmas because 3 years ago, we had spent a small fortune traveling to various places because we were house hunting. And so came the end of the year, we were, you know how when you're trying to buy a car or buy a house or anything, they're like, don't touch anything in your bank account. Like, make sure that you always have this. And so we looked at each other and we're like, we're not gonna go crazy. We're not gonna buy each other a bunch of gifts and stuff because we're saving for a house and we're trying to move. And so day before Christmas Eve or whatever, she's like, hey, don't come over here. I got to wrap your present. And I'm like, what do you mean present? And she's like, oh, I just got you a little something. I'm like, I will be right back. I got in the car. I drove down to Crate and Barrel in Austin, Texas. And I walked in and I'm like, we've been talking about coffee. We've been talking about making cappuccinos and all that stuff. So I bought the Breville. And at the time, 3 years ago, this Breville coffee machine was like $700-800. Now, come to find out, because my parents just bought one for their new house, it's like $399. It's $399.
Still not cheap.
It's still not cheap, but oh my God, at $399, this is where I wish I could be like, Oprah or something and just be like, you get a Breville, you get a Breville. But it's the entry level one, and I've learned how to become better at making coffee. I don't know if we're crazy, we're very particular about what we like. We've arrived at a bean that, believe it or not, was part of a sponsorship that we did 2 years ago.
Yeah, we had a sponsor, I think they were called Trade
Coffee.
Trade something, and it was like a subscription service where
Yeah.
you could kind of give them your general interest of coffee profile, and then they would send you, a new coffee beans to test out. And through that, we were sent airship coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And
Black Bear.
We used the Black
Bear
Bear
blend. Yeah.
and it's so good, and I'm so spoiled at this point. I honestly cannot drink coffee from anywhere else. It's
This is not sponsored, by the way,
No.
but we get airship direct, a Black Bear blend sent to us every about 45 days. In fact, I got a shipping notification today. No joke, today that our new shipment is coming. And so yeah, we grind it here. The Breville has a built-in grinder, and we make cappuccinos every morning. Worst cup of coffee I've ever had. I know where mine comes from.
Paris,
France.
a Starbucks in Paris, France. Well, pretty much
Any coffee in
any
Paris,
coffee
France.
in Paris.
Oof.
I don't know what is wrong over there. They don't.
I love Paris. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, I love Paris.
I love Paris, but even the people you talk to in
Admit.
Paris, and you're like, "What's up with the coffee?" And they're like, "I know it's not good, right?" And it's like,
Yeah, so we were there on our honeymoon,
Yeah.
and we had several cups of terrible coffee, and I looked on the Google Maps or whatever, and I'm like, oh well, there's a Starbucks a couple of blocks away. Go get a Starbucks. I do not like Starbucks, but at least it's you should kind of know what you're getting.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know
No.
it got worse.
It was.
I didn't know it could get worse.
It was. I don't like Starbucks. I don't think Starbucks is that great, especially once you've had I used to drink it all the time, but
Yeah,
once
yeah.
you've had really good coffee,
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like hi-fi. Once you really hear the good stuff, then you're educated.
Yeah.
But you think that a chain is gonna. It's like they have a a formula.
Yeah.
You know, it's all the same, no matter
That's
where
the
you
goal.
go. That's the goal.
That's
Like,
the-
no
yeah.
matter what country you're in, what city you're in, you walk into a Starbucks, the menu's the same. It should taste the same. It did not.
It did not.
It did not.
It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
Italy, though, boy, best coffee.
Yeah.
You can get anything. I don't care. A stand out in the middle of the street is going to be amazing.
You know, Malaysia had good coffee.
Really?
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
You weren't there, but Malaysia had good coffee. Yeah. Spain had good coffee.
What?
Spain
Oh,
had
of
good
course.
coffee. Although the one guy made me make it. That was weird.
What?
What town were we in Spain where we shot the wedding?
Oh gosh, it's got the castle place there. Starts with an M, I think.
Wasn't
No,
Malaga. Wasn't
No.
Malaga. We
No.
were in
Granada?
Granada.
No. I don't
Anyway,
remember.
we were in a little town in Spain. We were there to film a wedding, and this was years ago. And we woke up day of the shoot, and she's like, "I need coffee." And so I kind of walked down the stairs from our flat, and I'm just kind of walking through the courtyard of this little area we were in, and there's a coffee shop right around the corner, and they were just opening. And there's an old gentleman there opening, you know, putting out the sandwich board and the tables, and it was all very, you know.
Alhambra. Granada has the Alhambra. Yes.
Yes.
That is where the
That's
wedding
where we were.
was.
Yeah.
And that is the town.
That is the
Thank
town.
you, Kurt King.
So I walk in and I said, you know, hey, I'd like to order some coffee. And he just kind of looks at me, and I scream, American. I know, it's fine. But I was like, I'd like to order coffee. And he just goes like this. He goes like this. I'm like, okay. And I just get a little closer to him. And he goes, no. And he motions for me to come around to the back of the counter where he was. And obviously I'm like, am I supposed to do that?
I don't, did you ever tell me
I
this?
told you this story.
Oh, sorry.
And he literally hands me, you know, the grinder and the tamper and the whole thing. And this, keep in mind, I have never made coffee this way before. And he shows me through the steps, and I end up making 2 shots of cappuccino. And then I pay the man, even though I did all the work. And I'm just carrying these 2 shots back to our flat. And I'm just like, what happened?
I do not recall
What
this.
happened? Yeah.
But
No,
if it was the morning of a wedding day,
Yeah.
I'm usually
Yeah, it was the
stress.
gentleman was very, very kind. It was a great experience. Obviously, that coffee store and the gato.
It was like
up in the
It was like
hills.
a mile walk,
Up
but
in
it
the
was
hills.
amazing. They served this bread
Yeah.
with just some, I don't know, like soft creamy cheese, and then they had a homemade jam, and it was incredible.
It's such a great place.
It was incredible.
Such a great place.
Speaking of, but back to Breville, Mick Blast is correcting us that it's Australian and pronounced Braville, Bravil. Like, I know it's not spelled that way, but
yeah, my apologies.
Braville.
My apologies.
We learn something new
Every day.
every single day.
Ronan, good afternoon. Big fan, both you guys. Curious why you never review any Definitive Technology speakers. I wouldn't say that we never review Definitive Technology speakers. We were among the first, if not the first, review of their new towers. I know that was last year, or maybe it's been 2 years
I
now.
actually already shared a link to that review for him, for
Yeah.
Ronan. It was the 80s.
Yeah, and the reason being is that up until that point, Definitive Technology hadn't really had a new speaker, to the best of my knowledge, in like 6 years. And as we learned from the Anthem STR review last week, if a product is too old,
Yeah.
everyone's like, I've seen it.
Yeah.
And you don't watch.
Yeah. Still a good product.
Oh God, that Anthem, man. That's such a great product. And for the record, so were the DevTechs.
Oh, well, speaking of the Anthem,
Okay.
the SDR, you know how I was trying to copy the gentleman's question from the actual review so that maybe we could get to it? they're watching today and did a
Okay.
super chat, so you'll see an
I will see it?
SDR question
Okay.
coming at some point.
Awesome.
Just PSA, if you've left a super chat first, thank you. Even if you're not seeing your super chat still at the very top of the chat window,
I can still see it.
Andrew still sees it and we'll get to it as soon as he can.
Yeah, I can see everybody's. I see more often you having to clarify reviews or comments. I believe the channel keeps getting more influential in this segment. I'm happy for you even when it comes with a set of celebrity problems. I really appreciate that. I do. Gosh, I feel it's funny, if I may, she hit her mic again. Apologies, everyone wearing headphones
Sorry.
that just got slapped.
I was trying to tell Andrew.
She was motioning to look in the camera.
I hate when he doesn't look in the camera.
No, I was talking to a distributor earlier this week, and we were chatting because he used to be involved with a brand from another company like 10 years ago, and that was the last time he and I spoke. So we were kind of catching up on his new ventures and, whether or not some of the products he represents would be good for this channel as far as reviews. And because I had never heard of some of the brands that this person represented. And so we were just kind of chatting a little bit, and it came up like all of the kind of things that I feel we've had to sort of adjust to the longer we've been at this. There are definitely things. I've worked in entertainment most of my life. I worked in Hollywood. In advertising and all of that. There's no big secret to that. But I've never been the one that wants to be on the other side of the camera. I very much saw myself as a filmmaker or a director or whatnot, and I liked being a part of the creative process, but I definitely liked the focus being on other people. And so while I've worked with actors and actresses for decades, it's one of those things where it's like, until you're on the other side, like your level of appreciation for certain things, it's not going to be the same. And the fact that, we've had to take security measures, and, there are people that do very well on YouTube by trading on other people's likenesses, and criticizing other people. It's been a learning process for sure. And unfortunately, you kind of have to just learn how to go through it, because there's no way anyone's saying like, oh, you're going to encounter this and it's going to be just like this. And you're going to be like, I know what to do when that happens. Thank you. It's nothing is really, because every situation's a little bit different. We're all different as people, and we all respond differently, and our the way we process things mentally is differently. And so I really appreciate your comment, but yeah, it's been a very interesting ride, and there's definitely times, and I'm not saying this because of events that maybe happened this week, but there's been times where I kind of do just go, is it worth it? Is it worth it? And I will say that I struggled with that pretty hard at the end of last year. The end of last year was really difficult for me, because we spent the majority of last year trying to figure out, like, where do we go from here? Like, we can keep doing what we're doing and just steady as she goes. And I'm so proud of the fact that this channel has been just steady as she goes. Like, nothing's really popped off and gone viral. We haven't done any like real kind of collaborations with people that are like, up here that have brought us a whole bunch of new subscribers. We just do the job every week. We show up, give it our best, and we're reliable. We're kind of like a wood burning stove like that. But there are instances where it's like, I'm getting older. I'm not going to be able to do this forever. I don't necessarily feel it's good for me to do this forever. And so I have to start thinking about the future, and I have to start thinking about like, where are we going with this? Like, what's the goal? Like, how do we take, and I know everyone likes to say like, this is how we take things to the next level. And it's like, but what is the next level? Like, who who are we and what is it that we actually are really doing, you know? And so I struggled a lot with that over the end of last year. And we were trying out some things because I was trying to free up my schedule too. I was also trying to because I was going through life just like, all I do is this. Like all I'm doing is working, I'm testing, I'm constantly creating stuff, and I don't have a life. You know, I'm married, I work with my wife, I'm grateful for that. And I have a wonderful dog and I'm grateful for our house. But honestly, I wasn't enjoying any of it. You know, I didn't have time for like me projects. So we were looking at things like hiring editors, hiring help and all of this. And unfortunately, or fortunately, it just didn't feel right. I didn't want to lose that personal touch. So that's why we backed down, you know, to the 2 videos. And it was just like, we'll just do less. We'll do more with less. And that was ultimately what saved us. But during that time, yeah, I was like, maybe it's time for me to just leave, you know? But then I look at it and I'm like, I've been doing this for 25 years. At this point, I almost don't know how to do anything else. I've been at this professionally for 25 years. And so by happenstance, I guess, this is what I do. This is my career, you know? So anyway, I really appreciate it. I really do. Thanks for all you both do. I picked up my RZ50 Polk R700's Monitor Audio Bronze on your recommendations and couldn't have been happier. Well, you picked up the trifecta of fun is what you did.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about 3 absolute just you're gonna have a good time. You are.
Excuse me,
You
guys.
are.
Sorry about that.
So thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, here we go. Anthem STR. Do you think the STR preamp paired with the Anthem MCA 225 Gen 2 would produce a noticeable difference in sound from the Anthem STR integrated amp? I have 2 Paradigm Studio 100 V5 speakers. I would like to think that the differences would be negligible. The flexibility and future upgradability or changeability would be greater, obviously, if you went preamp and amp. But just, I've known and been around Anthem products since before they were like Anthem, back when they were Sonic Frontiers. And I will say, while I haven't had dozens of Anthem products in my personal collection or long-term loan, I have had a handful, and I will say that as a brand, as a company, they have always been incredibly consistent with what they bring to market. And I think that also goes to explain why maybe their product cycles are so long, because they take their time and they do it right. So I would like to think that the differences would be negligible sonically. However, if you're someone that knows that down the road, you're like, oh, but I don't want to, if I really like the preamp, but I need more power, I want different power, I want to play with that, then it should come as no surprise that the preamp amp combination is going to be the better way to go. If you're being honest with yourself and you're like, no, I know down the road, I want the flexibility. If flexibility is important, get the separates. If you're like, do I need the separates to get the quality and I'm going to be one and done? I think the STR integrated is enough. I really do. The moment it becomes, quote, audiophile is when you, quote, I don't care. Sure? Or is it the, quote, audiophile when you say, quote, that's all I care about? Either one. I don't know. But thank you so much for your support. Recently got the M1. That would be the Marantz model M1. Is surprised it drove the Lintons pretty good. Happy with it. Thanks for the review and the recommendation. Yeah, dude, that little model M1, man, it's legit. It's legit.
It's so good.
Like I don't get it. We have another Marantz integrated that's on the bench right now that we've been testing, and it too is fine. It's doing well. But there are some things about it that within, I don't know, an afternoon of playing, I'm like, Marantz, ding, 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 like how are you not at least letting this new product do what the Model M1 can? we got a problem. But no, the M1 it's great. It's really great. Dan Moe Jr., thank you for becoming a member. Really appreciate that. Zion's got my Dream Forte 4s the other day for a great deal secondhand. Looking for an amp, but don't want to wait for the Deckware Zen. Any recommendations? I'm going to make an assumption, and I apologize if I am assuming wrong, but I'm going to assume that maybe you're looking in the budget range of about $900 to $1,500, because that would be kind of where the Zen amp is. Last I checked. Some amp recommendations. You could have a lot of fun. You could have a lot of fun with the Technics GX70. That's kind of an all-inclusive. It gives you that little flavor of the G700 Mark II R1000 kind of Technics sound. It does surprisingly pair very well with high-efficiency speakers like the Klipsch. It has some room correction in it, but it also has streaming built into it, so it's very versatile. And I want to say it's about $1,500. The GX70 from Technics.
What about it?
I want to say it's about $1,500. I think it's cheaper now than when we reviewed it.
I'll look it up.
Okay, that might be something to look at if you're not one to want Class D or whatever class Technics falls under. There is the Audiolab 7000A, which is another phenomenal.
It's just under $1,500.
The GX70.
Yeah, it's on sale. I'll drop a link.
Yeah.
In the chat box.
Okay. 7000A from Audiolab, another great one. 1000A Yamaha is going to be in the $1,700 range, so we're going to be looking up market. I have not put the Forte 4s to the Marantz Model M1, but I know it would drive the heck out of it, and now you're looking at $999 with built-in streaming and the whole works. Doesn't have the room correction, but some of these the Audiolab doesn't have room correction either. So those would be 4 places to maybe start, and you wouldn't have to wait 2 to 3 years. But that isn't to say that the Deckware isn't worth it. And my man Chris is loving his Deckware.
Oh yeah, Veltman waited.
He waited.
A long time. I think the wait list is up to
3 years.
3 to 4 years.
Yeah. Okay. Sir Winston, what speaker has a tall enough soundstage so that I can stand as much as I sit when listening? Sitting might be best, but I want to move about too. Magnepan, SVS, KEF, or Martin Logan XT? Whew. Well, Magnepan has pretty good vertical dispersion. Their horizontal can be a bit different sometimes. Magnepan was better than Martin Logan in that respect. SVS, the new time-aligned Evolution series, I'm not sure I would say, stand, sit, that sort of a thing. They do like you to kind of, I don't want to say be stationary, but horizontally be in a kind of a plane. KEF R1 or R11. Similar. Martin Logan was pretty big. Pretty, could go high, could go low, could go big, all that stuff. And the KEF could too, but KEF and the SVS, they do benefit most.
What about something with an upward rake?
Well, that's what I was also trying to think about. But I mean, Heresy 4s have their own issues. That may not be.
KLH Model 5.
KLH Model 5 could be good. Boy. Not to bring up another Deckware speaker, but that open baffle had the upward rake. Forget what it was called. Ooh, boy. To be perfectly honest, I don't do a lot of evaluation or call it quality control as far as like, will I have the same experience from our listening position to standing up just behind our listening position? I do listen for directivity and like off axis and stuff like that, like how much does stuff fall off, and that kind of gives us a dispersion characteristic. But yeah, standing versus seating height performance, it's not something that I've historically put a lot of emphasis on. So I don't know the best advice to give you, but you've just helped me out and maybe coming up with a new test metric to include in our reviews to make them better.
I just linked to the open baffle speaker that you were talking about from Deckware.
Yeah.
In the chat box. So Sir Winston, and you
can check it out.
Check that out if you're curious.
It had great coherence. Obviously, it's a single driver point source, single driver. Open baffle with a slight upward rake. Doesn't have the lowest bass in the world, but it was a big sound. Very articulate too.
Yeah, I liked it. Some people thought it looked like a toilet seat, but
everyone's going to be a little different.
Yeah.
Wanted to say thank you. I think you both helped teach me how to be happy with what I already have. Haven't had an itch to buy or try anything new in years. Thank you. We'll keep watching you though, and we appreciate that.
What a pleasant place to be.
I know. Thank you. Hello from Osaka. I run KEF Q950, Q650C 5.1 on my old TXNR 545. That would be an Onkyo. And looking to upgrade. Strangely, the good Sony AVRs aren't available here. Yeah, isn't that weird? Like, these Sony AVRs aren't available anywhere. It's like they released them just for, like, North America. It's so weird. Stuck between Cinema 50 and RZ50, mostly for movies and games. Both of them are fantastic, to be honest. The Cinema 50 is more expensive than the RZ50, at least it is here in the States. I don't know what the story is going to be in Osaka. If you want the next evolution of quality over the RZ50, the RZ70 is about the same price as the Cinema 50. It is the better receiver, but if you're able to pick up RZ50s for what they cost here, which is like $1,000, that's just a no-brainer, man. It really is, and they'll power your KEFs just fine. It will power your KEFs just fine, but the RZ70 has that little extra something, and you still get Dirac as part of it. Blah blah blah. So,
really quickly,
yeah.
Bob A says Sony as a company are a mess, and you and I were talking about the conversation you had with our Sony rep recently.
Yes.
And how if it kind of came up, you would maybe mention it, and
you're giving me the opportunity
to mention it.
I don't pretend to know how obviously Sony runs their business from top down, bottom up, whatever. I'm not involved in that way. I will say this though about Sony: maybe they're a mess, maybe they're not. Maybe you have your own opinions about Sony. I will say this: I respect that company immensely because they repeatedly and routinely keep entering the ring, the proverbial ring. Even when they get a smackdown of a review, they come back and say, hey, sorry we missed the boat on that one, but what do you think? Are you willing to take a look at this? And I was getting an update, or Kristi got an update about the status of a Bravia TV that is shipping. At
some point, yeah.
That will be coming to the channel. And while our Sony contact had me on the phone discussing that the Bravia was shipping, he said, and by the way, I want you to know that we haven't forgotten about the Bar 9 review and all of the things that you brought up in that review and all of the things that you made us aware of. And I want you to know that that review is making the rounds inside our technical department, and we're using it to help us be better. And I thought, that's awesome. That is so awesome. And it's not a pat on my back like, oh, I'm going to make Sony, but it's not that. I wish more brands were like that, because it wasn't personal. It wasn't like, I'm going to torch them because it's good for views. It's actually really bad for views, just FYI. But it was out of character for Sony. For me, at least, in my experience, we love
Well,
the
except for we had similar feelings about the
7,000 soundbar, 7,000 soundbar. But on the whole, like typically Sony has almost had they've had a pretty decent batting average. And, we put that review out, here it is, bar 9. I don't like it. I don't recommend it. There were some noticeable things that struck me as odd. And they're aware, and they took it as not criticism, but critique and where to focus for room for improvement. And I just wanted to say to anyone, and if Sony were to catch this, like mad respect for that. Really, truly. I will always take the call, and you can always present something as far as like, would you want to look at this for review? Because you're mature professional adults, and I appreciate that. Okay. Hi, Andrew, Kristi, love your channel. May I ask if you might recommend a 2-channel preamp with balanced outputs? HDMI EARC would be a bonus. Budget is $2K. Preamp stereo with HDMI for $2K.
Balanced outputs.
I mean, there's the Ever Solo Z8, which is not a perfect preamp, but I happen to think it's pretty dang special, which is why I bought it. On a more budget side, from what I'm hearing, I don't have one, but from what I'm hearing, the new WIM Streamer Pro with the screen on the front is also pretty darn special, but I don't think it has balanced outs. The Ever Solo has balanced outs. Gosh. I can only tell you what I use in these situations, and that is the Ever Solo Z8. Oh. I haven't heard it, but I have had its previous generation, and that's the Mini DSP SHD. You guys know I love that. There's a new one, and it's the SHD HT, and there's a small one, and then there's a full format one. The small one does not have balanced outs, which is unfortunate because it's like $500. But the big one has unbalanced and balanced outs, and unbalanced and balanced ins, and it's a $995. If it is even the same guts with just some added connectivity functionality as my SHD, perfection. Provided you're okay with a little bit of, technical jargon, and you're okay with setting things up on a laptop, it is a phenomenal preamp. And you've got Dirac, and you've got your own custom. You can do anything with an SHD if you want to get in the weeds. If you don't want to get in the weeds, the Z8 from Ever Solo may be a better option. It still has a lot of technical prowess, but there's still some more automated features about it, plug and play features about it, plus you have built-in streaming, yada, yada, yada. Those would be my 2 recommendations. Glass Medic, hey, hi guys, greatest show. I have the Emotiva MR1 for 2 years now, no issues, not many reviews, people are sleeping on this unit. What are your thoughts? Well, we had the MR1L, and from a power sound quality standpoint, it was very good. It was very, very good. Obviously, the MR1L is the little brother to the MR1. Sound quality, amplifier, power delivery, if you can get by with the number of channels, it's very good. My critique of the MR1 and 1L, because they are now the same internal architecture, was at the time of our review, that internal architecture was at least a decade old, because it stems all the way back to the UMC 200. And not a lot had been changed. Now, I understand there have been some firmware updates, or there may even be, at the time of this recording, like a board update. I cannot confirm that. I have not played with that, but that, I believe, is either coming or has now happened. If that is the case, and the performance and the feature set and the user experience of the MR1, MR1L has now been elevated. I would love to take a second look at it before giving it my absolute recommendation. But if you're one of the people that are just like, hey, it's about power delivery and sound quality, and I don't care about the user experience because at the end of the day, I'm just adjusting the volume up and down between quiet as a church mouse and full Carl, they're great. What are the benefits of a more powerful amplifier? Think MC312. If for your listening taste and setup, you only might be using 10 watts normally. Headroom in those off chances that you're not going to need or not going to only use 10 watts normally. And believe it or not, there are instances where despite you're like, hey, I just listen to 55, 60 dB and that needle doesn't even move. Okay. And if that amp only has 5 or 10 watts, you might be okay until that one time where even at 65, the dynamic range of the content you're watching, whether it be television, movies, or music, goes from 65 to 80 to back to 65. That one instance of 80 may cause your amplifier to clip, go into protect mode, or worse. That is where power and headroom come in. Now, do you have to go crazy? Do you have to go crazy with something like an MC312? Absolutely not. You don't. In that instance, let's say you've been getting by with a 10 watt amplifier, stepping up to even just a 50 or 75 watt amplifier would probably give you the headroom to cover the spread of what I just described. But we listen at all volumes on all types of content, and some of those peaks get up there. And when they get up there, you don't necessarily need an MC312, but you do need that power reserves 200, 300, 350 watts, and so on and so forth. That's why. All right. I thought I was getting so caught up, and now I'm realizing I'm not. Peter, hi, Audiolab 8300 MBs with matching DAC pre and Focal Evo X1. Very pleased with it, but I heard the same system with the Concept 50s and fell in love. Concept 300s are now the same price. Help. I can only tell you what my personal experience would be in this instance because we had the Concept 300s, which were the bookshelves, and we currently are still in possession of the Concept 50s.
One of my favorite speakers.
I think the Concept 50s are every bit as good as the 300s and more versatile. That's just me. I could have hung on to our 300s, whatever, but I'm glad we have the 50s.
And the Audiolab 8300 amp is
a
really
great
good.
pairing.
Unfortunately, we sent ours back because it needed to be repaired, and I thought they were going to return it to us, but then they didn't. So I'm not really sure, but I can say Audiolab Concept 50, fantastic. Nothing against the Concept 300, but that 50 is a real sweet spot for Q acoustics, in my opinion. Benoit, hi, fellow AV installer here. Love you both. You both do excellent work. Thanks. By the way, I agree with you 99% of the time. That's a good ratio. That's a really
That's
good
a good ratio.
I don't even agree with Andrew 99% of the time.
Those are facts.
I still love him, though.
Those are facts. I agree with her 100% of the time.
True story. Ignore the wink. He does.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. Alex, thoughts on the new Klipsch collab? Very high price point, but looks like it could fit in the Heritage line somewhere between the Cornwall and Scala. I think it's cool. I requested a pair for review, and I don't know. I don't know what's going to come of it. Likely nothing. Klipsch as a brand in the last couple of years has gone through some changes,
and just for the record, we're not sponsored by Klipsch.
Yeah.
We're not on their payroll. Just to make that crystal clear, we love things from Klipsch. There's been products from Klipsch that we didn't like as much. Sorry, you may have missed
Yeah.
the more critical reviews.
And
But to his point, yes,
they've gone through some changes on a corporate level, and as a result, some of the people that we had dealt with early in the channel in getting units and review supplies and stuff like that are no longer there. And the new people are fantastic. They're very nice people, but there's a lot more kind of game of telephone that has to happen. And
in order
so
for anything
to happen.
We got the press release.
Yeah, we got the
on
press release
this.
for it.
Andrew asked for it.
Yep.
And then I think we were told,
We'll get back to you. No, literally,
Yeah.
we like so-and-so that I have to ask is out of town. As soon as they get back in town, I will ask, and then I will get back to you. That was 2 weeks ago.
I was not included in that conversation, so I don't really recall, but
So, but I requested them, but I don't think anything's going to happen. But they look cool. They do.
and real quickly, I know at one point we thought we were getting the Klipsch R7 threes.
Yes.
They were supposedly on a truck coming our way, and
Yes.
then they weren't. So
And we were given no explanation as to why that they weren't.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the Klipsch update on our end.
Yep. Thank you so much. Vadim is back. Okay.
Oh, wait.
Oh.
Did I don't think WB had a question.
I'm not seeing a question here.
There was
I appreciate the
one-
support.
There was one from somebody else that they left. Hold on. Did you already get to that? Arash left a $10 super chat. Did you pass by?
No, I clicked on
Bill?
it and I said thank you.
Okay. I was busy doing other things and I missed that.
Okay.
So Arash did have a question.
Okay.
Are you able to see the threaded comments in the super chat in the super chats that come on your end? YouTube has done this new thing now.
I see that there's threaded comments, but when I go to click on them, because of my dashboard,
Yeah.
since I'm a creator, and this allows me to see your super chats in perpetuity while you may see them disappear, it's not letting me expand.
Okay, so I'm going to read
Okay.
their question.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you both. Does the quality of the streamer hardware, parentheses, Sonos, BlueOS, WIM, matter if we are using an external DAC/amp and use the streamer for software and multi-room features?
I would like to say that to me it doesn't. To me it doesn't. Because at that point, if you're just using the streaming software as a means to get the digital information packet, whatever, file to the DAC for it to be converted from digital to analog to then go to the preamp or your amplifier out to your speakers. At that point, if you're just using it as a, quote, information transport, then the differences in streaming platforms for me have largely been user experience and like which one do you prefer and which ones give you access to the content you want to enjoy, because not all of them are the same, not all of them have the same apps, app support, blah blah blah. I'm sure there are people that will take issue with what I've just said. I have done some very rudimentary, call it double-blind testing of streamers where they are purely just a information transport to a DAC, and the DACs have been the same. I can't say that there is a noticeable night and day real difference. Now, sometimes there can be differences in output gain that are very easily mistaken for clarity improvements, dynamic improvements. But I always level match as best that I can using two different SPL meters to make sure that I'm not being kind of fooled by an extra dB to 3 dB, or in some cases like 6 dB, in difference in just how it's outputting or interacting with certain things. But no, don't know if the physical streaming platform services, be it HIOS, BlueOS, Sonos, provided that they are just passing along the signal and not applying anything behind the scenes that they're not telling you, the user, about, which is possible. But if all things are equal, I don't think there's a big difference outside of the just end user experience. Okay, thank you for catching that, because like I said, I can see nested comments, but I can't expand those, so we're gonna have to worry about that in a minute. Thanks. Oh, okay. But what about that soundbar with the weird name? It's the Dragon. Oh, you mother. Just kidding. This is strictly for the dog treats. Hope everyone's enjoying the stream. Yes, thank you so much, Vadim. Yeah. I'm about ready to lose my mind. I'm like, damn it. Thank you so much. William, currently using GE BRX and GE Center. What's GE? Golden Ear BRX, Golden Ear Center with SVS sub. I like the sound. Would SVS Titans plus Evo Center with no subs be a good upgrade? Would like to simplify setup. My room has had good bass for 35 years. I don't know if it would be an upgrade, especially if you're used to having a sub. I totally get simplification and streamlining. Lord knows, while I do love the benefit of having our subwoofer attached and powered on, I also love the extra floor space and lack of cables when it's not. Will it be an upgrade? I don't know. I don't know if I would go so far as to say, like, yeah, it's going to be an upgrade. Will it be different? Yes. Yes, it will. Will it be enough bass out of the Titans? I don't know what SVS sub you have, but the Titans are not going to play down into the basement like 20 hertz with probably the same authority that your sub does. If that's not important to you, they will play down with authority to about 28 to 30 hertz, which for you, you're like, Andrew, you just said the magic words, in which case, be free, have fun, enjoy your new upgrade. But if you're like, oh, no, I don't want to give up 20 hertz, know that you're not going to give up your SVS sub either. So in that instance, if you're happy, you've been enjoying this, and it's fine, just stick with what you have. Fuzz, speaking of the Bravia, any plans to try and get one of the new Panasonics in when they arrive? Yes. I may end up having to buy it from Amazon because we don't have an Amazon/Panasonic contact. But yes, I'm very curious. Very curious. I used to have Panasonic Pro Plasmas in my house back in the early 2000s. So big fan, happy to see them back. Would love the opportunity, really would. David,
I think Digital Trends. I think Caleb just did a video.
I think he did a question and answer about it. I don't believe he's done a review. But
I'm just going off the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I can, next time I talk to Caleb, maybe we can figure something out. Because he's helped us out with like TV contacts and getting our foot in the door. So he's a good dude. What is a good source for good, high-quality, dynamic range CDs? I have Supertramp's Crime of the Century from Mobile to LE Sound Lab, and it sounds amazing. How best to find these recordings? Oh man, David, I'm so sorry. I am the wrong person to ask. I don't really listen to CDs of any ilk unless it is purely for testing purposes. I couldn't even tell you the last CD that I bought. I literally have like 12 CDs in this entire house. And the only reason I have them is either nostalgia, personal feelings purposes, or they are purely things that I use to test in the off chance that something comes through here that has a disc tray. You know what I mean? So I don't know where to go at this point to get like super duper high fidelity CD recordings. I'm the wrong person to ask. As for players, Technics, probably at this point it's a little bit aging, but their SACD player that went with their R1000/G700 Mark II was phenomenal. That was a great CD player. And that was honestly, I think, the last disc spinner we had on the channel. So we're going back about 3 years now. So sorry, but I do appreciate the support. Horatio. Hey, K&A. I think I'm in for an upgrade, but not sure where to start. Got a basic 9.1 based on a Pioneer 305 receiver, Q150, Q250C, and two 8-inch subs. I'm lacking punch, bass, and mid-range. Punch, bass, and mid-range. Okay, it sounds like you are in possession of some pretty neutral speakers that are, I don't want to say challenging to drive, but that have just a really even keel sense about them. Like, you're not going to get Kef to misbehave. You can play it loud with little to no distortion. You're going to have, intelligibility, clarity. You're going to have all of that. But I would never classify their sound as ever being, super dynamic, explosive, and this and that. So, if you're after excitement, if you're after that energy, that kick, you might be a candidate, especially sticking with the Pioneer 305, which is a great receiver. You might be a candidate for something more along the lines of, say, like a Klipsch RP Reference Premier series, whether that's the 600M Mark IIs, or you can step up to the 6000 or 8000F Mark IIs. Those are going to be a little bit more just fun. You might also be a candidate for SVS's new Evolution line, be it the SVS Nanos with one of their subwoofers, or the smallest of the towers, which is just called the Tower. Yeah, it is just called the Tower. That might be something to look at. Focal's more Tiva, the more affordable line from from Focal. That's going to monitor audio bronze. I think these four things are going to give you just a different flavor that may align with more of a punch, the bass, that sort of a thing. What to change first? No idea. Because you are kind of all in with Kef at the moment. So probably your left and right mains, start there and see. And then, of course, you're going to have to then start matching the tonality of, let's say you get the 600Ms from Klipsch as your left and right mains. And I'm starting there because I think they're currently like $4.99 a pair. And I don't want you to spend a bunch of money while you're experimenting. So you have $4.99 a pair, 600Ms, and you're like, boom, you unlocked it. That's it. That's what I want. Okay, well then you know to replace the center. And then maybe you can look at the subs if the subs need more, oomph. So that's what I got. Brad Smith. Hi, Andrew and Kristi. How serious should surge or power protection be taken with equipment? Here's another one, man. I started my career 25 years ago writing about power conditioners and surge suppressors and remotes. And I had everything. I had some early PS Audio stuff. I had Richard Gray's Power Company stuff. I had Monster Cable, power regenerators. I've had a lot. And granted, we're talking about 1999, 2000, all the way up to maybe like 2002. I can't say that any time I ever switched any of those out, I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Maybe the noise floor dropped a little bit, and that's if I stuck my ear right to the tweeter, and I was like, okay, yeah. Or I put my SPL meter like right in front of the tweeter. I could sit there and be like, oh, the noise floor dropped, tweeter hiss, or noise floor dropped half a dB or dB or whatever. Did that matter 8-9 feet out into the room at the listening chair? Not really. Not really. I currently use a commercial hospital grade, literally a hospital grade commercial suppressor or power strip brick, whatever you want to call it. I don't know it off the top of my head. Just because it can handle the loads. You know, if I can't plug directly into the wall, it can handle the loads. And I think I paid maybe $200 for it. And I don't believe it is any better or worse than power suppressors, regenerators, and all of that I've experimented with years and years and years ago that cost upwards of like $5,000. So, yeah. Let's see. Cody, should I sound treat my home theater room when I use a Q990D? Would it make the reflected channels sound worse? It very easily could. It very easily could. Because anytime we're relying on reflectivity, when you absorb that or take that away, obviously, you're going to have less of an experience. Sound bars are engineered in a lot of ways to take into consideration that the average person going through life in various sizes and shapes of rooms aren't one to treat it. They're going to have sound being absorbed and reflected by any number of surfaces and furniture. And so they're going to do the best they can within those parameters. And a perfect example, actually, I know we mentioned Caleb's name just a moment ago. Caleb and I were chatting. Sorry, Caleb, I'm not trying to out you or anything like that, but Caleb and I were chatting about the reflectivity, upward firing reflectivity of certain soundbar systems and whatnot, and how for filming purposes in his new space, you know, he has what I'll call clouds, like panels that hang down. And so to give a more clearer picture of reflective sound, he will often take his sound bars to different rooms that don't have those absorptive clouds, just to make sure that is it the cloud that's affecting it, or is it really, you know, bad? And that's very good. That's important that, you know, he or anyone does that. So it's possible that by treating your room, you could make the spatial quality of a Q990D or any soundbar that relies on reflectivity, you could make it worse or seem less enveloping. Zion's deposit on Zen placed.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, hopefully we're still here when you get it, and you can tell us all about it. Oh man, I love you guys. You guys are awesome. I just can't buy Emotiva amps. I'm sure they're great, but their looks are terrible. Any other brand you like, 200 plus watts per channel, Anthem, Rotel, Parasound, anything else? Well, I'll tell you this. I like Rotel amps a lot. Rotel is like baby Krell to me. They are fantastic. Parasound, it's been years since I've listened to any Parasound product, but...
What? Oh, I mean...
Hint 6 was 3 years ago, but even prior to Hint 6, it was a decade. But yeah. I was a Parasound customer, and I owned A23, not the A23 Plus, but I owned A23, A51, and 2250, which was part of their classic line. And those were all fantastic. So Rotel, Parasound, granted it's older, obviously Anthem, obviously Anthem knows how to make an amp as well. I always start with Emotiva. It's not about bias. I just never want to assume that I know someone's budget. And so anytime that I can get people who are looking or on the market for separates, I don't want to assume or just jump to, yeah, get yourself a Rotel, whatever. And then they go to wherever they go, they look it up online, and it's, you know, $4,200. And they're like, must be nice, money bags. And it's like, okay. So, but if you're willing, yeah, Anthem, Rotel, Parasound, they're all fantastic. They're all fantastic. Do with, you know, get which one works for you and your budget. I can't say anything negative about them.
I think you're caught up.
I think I am caught up. Let me double check here. Yeah. Vadim says, funny thing is Rotel in black looks utterly similar to Emotiva. I mean, yeah, I can see that. I can see that. But I will say, when they're really side by side, you can tell, like, okay, like the casework on Rotel amps is like, chef's kiss.
Yes.
So it's really good. Oh, no sooner. No sooner do you say I've caught up, do I realize I'm not caught up?
Someone was asking about Stark Sound and if you were intending to review them. I replied that there was nothing on the horizon.
Yeah, I mean, we did the Ever Solo amp, which was obviously done in collaboration with Stark Sound. It was serviceable. Like, it's not the best thing I've ever heard. Wasn't the worst. It was what it was. Little bit on the higher priced side for what it was, in my opinion.
You're talking the Ever Solo.
The Ever Solo Stark Sound amp.
Yeah.
Very nicely made, but it wouldn't be like in my top 10, like, here's a recommendation. But if you own one and you're like, hey, I think it's just fine. I agree with you. I think it's just fine. I do. I think it would be better and more than maybe just fine if it was like $200 cheaper, because that's really kind of where I felt it performed. But it's serviceable. It's serviceable. And everything that I just said is more or less just my subjective feelings based on any number of things. But no, there's nothing on the horizon for Stark Sound. Nothing. Fuzz says, any chance you can use your fame and influence to kindly nudge audio manufacturers to stop using blue LEDs on everything? My fame and influence doesn't even get me preferential seating or a reservation at the HIFI restaurant. So, I mean, I hammer.
We're going to Chili's with the rest of you.
Yeah, we're not at the big kids table. We're at the Thanksgiving little kids table still. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like in our reviews, our feelings are known. Like, hey, put HDMI on stuff. Stop doing this. You know, let's dress it up. Let's dress it up a little bit. You know, fix your screens. Stop buying stuff from the parts bin at Texas Instruments.
I mean, I made my feelings known pretty early on about my feelings about the blue lights.
Yeah.
But then people were like, "Who cares?" and why are you talking about that sort of thing? So
Yeah.
I try not to step in a pile of crap when I can avoid it.
I can avoid it. She was actually pretty happy this week that any and all potential or what's the word? Any and all potential drama, if you will, was my fault this week.
Oh, for sure.
She was so happy.
I was like,
She's
hey.
like, for once, it's your dumbass that they're mad at.
This is true.
Okay, let's see. There's a question. Any recommendation on the Canton Reference 3 versus Sonos Faber Olympica in combination with the Marantz Cinema 30? Unfortunately, I can't help you on either of those. The last Canton speaker I heard in person was probably in 2006. I remember thinking very highly of it, and I do like the brand quite a bit. I don't know what their North American distribution situation is at the moment, but if any of you guys do, or if anyone from Canton is secretly creeping on any of our videos, I would love to chat with you, because I recall your products being really good. And I'm always looking to go in the Wayback Machine and see what anyone's up to. A couple people even DM'd me on Instagram. Lynn Audio came out with a bunch of new speakers. I would also like to listen to Lynn. I would love to hear what that's all about. It's been ages since I've listened to anything from Lynn. And Meridian, same story. I used to have a full stack of Meridian gear. Hell, my first custom theater was Meridian in walls, and it was phenomenal. So yeah, I would love to not sleep or miss anything on a lot of these brands. Sonos Faber, we are trying to get some more Sonos Faber speakers in-house. There's some supply issues, supply chain availability. I don't know, but we're trying, and they're aware. We as recently as this week, we have exchanged an email saying we're working on it, but I don't have any ETAs. Hector, thank you so much for your support. I can see there's a nested comment on Hector Solzaro.
Yeah,
Sano?
it might have been just me asking if they had a question.
Okay.
And they have not responded, so I don't know.
Okay.
Just going to have to say, hey, thank you.
Thank you. Chris Veldman, well, it's happening. Was watching the Mindy Project with my wife. She was rubbing my scalp and said, the side of your scalp has thicker hair than the top. I think your hair is thinning. Hashtag keeps. It happens. It happens. Happens to everybody. Or not everybody, but if it does happen to you, it happens. Should you use keeps or any sort of foam or whatnot? That's entirely up to you. I use products along those lines, and obviously I have for years. I don't know if the results speak for themselves, but I'm quite happy.
I think they do, because you frequently get accused of having a hair transplant or something.
That one's weird to me because, like, you can still, I mean, it's way better than it was, but, like, over on this side here, like, it's not perfect. And if I got a hair transplant, I'd want it to be perfect.
Because that shit's expensive.
It's really expensive. It's really expensive. It costs way more than watching Titanic twice.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. You know, we watch Daniel Tosh.
Yeah.
On his podcast.
The Tosh Show.
The Tosh Show.
Yeah.
I think it's on a podcast platform, but it's also on YouTube. Highly recommend. He's so fun to watch. But he goes and gets PRP treatments, which is like a blood
platelet
or something,
it's almost
infusion.
I don't want to say stem cell, but it's getting up there. And
so he actually goes to probably a plastic surgeon or somebody that offers those types of services, and he gets these injected into his head, into his scalp. And he has a video about it where he actually
a whole
shows,
video, yeah, in the before and afters. But he's been doing it for years,
Yeah.
and it also is very expensive.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive.
But his results are like, whoa, like, wow.
Yeah.
Now, me and
Andrew started on the pill form.
I started on the pill form 4 years ago. And for the first 6 to 8 months of the pill, everything was fine. And then I started to have some of the side effects from the pill. And so I called up and spoke to the telehealth person that I had dealt with this whole time. And they said, you know what? There's a topical formula. It's the same ingredients. It's just more of a topical formula. And we're finding that the people that develop the side effects from the pill don't really have as much problem with the topical. So I've been on the topical for 3 years now, and I dig it. About the only problem I have with the topical is I sometimes forget to do it. And you do have to do it every day. And so I'll skip a day every now and then.
And you also use the shampoo and conditioner.
I use it, but there's no regenerative properties to the shampoo and conditioner apart from it's more of a thickening agent, which I don't understand. But I will say this: I went from Head and Shoulders to the medicated shampoo and conditioner, and
because you have what is that skin thing?
I have eczema.
Yeah.
I have really bad eczema, and it's traveled all over my body. And I'm at the age now where it's discovered that it hasn't vacationed in Florida yet. So now we're in my face phase. It used to be under my armpits, then it was my inner leg. I mean, it's just it's a thing. So yeah, we don't obviously do Keeps sponsorships anymore. I don't have anything negative to say about the brand whatsoever.
Well, the reason we don't do them anymore is because they changed their policy.
Yeah.
And they were requiring a HIPAA authorization.
Yeah, they wanted me to be able to. They wanted to be able to, for me to release my medical information to them, and while they swore to us up, down, left, and right that it would never be used for, like, my personal medical information would never be used for anything other than, I think they were just required to get it. I was like, I don't like that. But as far as the service goes, the product and all of that, keeps and all, I have nothing negative to
Hymns.
hymns, keeps and all that.
They're basically the same.
I have nothing negative to say, and you're free to speak to your doctor. Maybe they know something I don't know. But yeah, I still have my hair, and when we started this channel, it was going away quick. So anyway, Jay Lauren, more tube component reviews, please. Okay. I mean, I can't promise you anything. If something comes up that is of interest or that I think is like, ooh, that's interesting, or I'm intrigued by that, then yeah, for sure. C. Witcher, any experience with amps with Purify modules? Off the top of my head, I'm going to say that nothing jumps to mind, but that isn't to say that we haven't had something and I'm just spacing. So unfortunately, like I said, nothing's jumping to top of mind, but I'm sure at some point something has come through here with Purify modules. As a fellow coffee nerd here, Andrew, I got to ask, roasters you enjoy, current setup, grinder, machine, and your end game one. Well, I mean, I think we covered this earlier. I really enjoy our, how am I supposed to say it? Breville coffee machines, and we love our Black Bear blend bean from Airship Coffee. Not sponsored, it's just what we like. So yeah, our current setup is an all-in-one grinder machine from Breville, and like I said earlier, I think you get it for like $400 now. I paid $800 for it several years ago. My end game, though,
Is it that white one?
Yeah.
What is that? What is it called?
If Vadim is still watching, he knows some of. There's an Italian brand of coffee machine that looks Italian as hell. The name of it escapes me, but it's nice. It's like white powder coated and chrome, and it's nice.
Fama? F-A-E-M-A?
No, doesn't it start with an L?
Yeah, I think.
It's like a 2-word name.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen
La Marzocco?
that might
Yes, I think that might be it.
that might be it.
Arash, thank you.
That
Hope
might
I'm
be
saying
it.
your name right.
But yeah, like I'm in love with those machines. I don't know if they make a good cup of coffee. I don't even know if they're good. I just think they're sexy as hell. And there's a channel on YouTube, and I only
It's La Marzocco.
yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, they're really something. And there's a channel on YouTube where this gentleman, very, very well put together gentleman, is just all about high-end coffee. And he's great ASMR for me at night when I'm trying to fall asleep. Not to say that his content's boring, but he's very relaxing to me to watch.
He's like you.
Yeah. But some of the machines he has, like he had a grinder press that was like, it was so big, and it was a Swiss thing, and it was $12,000, I think.
Was that the alien looking thing?
Yeah, like, I don't know what you do with that.
Is his name James Hoffman?
The YouTuber?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
What was I saying? But yeah, this grinder was so crazy. But the mechanics of it, the industrial design of it, I was like, see, I look at everything like as art. Literally, I look at everything as art. And if you can't be art, then you're just like a tool. You're just a screwdriver or a hammer. So I like it when things are. I like it when things have flair, when they're artistic. And so a lot of things that I'm drawn to about coffee machines is the artistry of the design. They could be absolute crap, but I still want them. Brad Smith, what do you and Kristi find so good about the Q990D from Samsung compared to, say, a full-blown Sonos setup? Also, why does Andrew dislike Sonos? Okay, Brad. Brad, buddy. What do I find so good about the Q990D from Samsung? It's the performance to value value for performance, whatever the phrase is unparalleled. It really is. And when set up correctly, what Samsung gives you at what is often after the initial rollout. I mean, I know initially the Q990D was $1,700 or $1,800, but within 6 months of any soundbar from Samsung coming out, that damn thing's $1,299. And at those prices, what you are getting can't really be touched, all things considered. You can point to one thing or two things and be like, see, that's why. But let's keep it real and let's keep it in perspective. This level of performance and simplicity and ease of use and flexibility just didn't exist 10 years ago. And in a lot of ways, even with traditional systems, it still doesn't even exist today. And so that's what I love about it. Will a Q990D beat a full-blown Sonos setup? No. No, it won't. And I believe I've said as much. But you are talking about something that can be readily available or purchased between $999 and $1,300 all in, versus a system that the cheapest I've ever seen it priced is like $2,100 all the way up to $3,000. And so you're getting better build quality with Sonos. You are getting a better subwoofer or two subwoofers with Sonos. You're getting better surrounds that can be repurposed as other speakers and such with Sonos. You're giving up some connectivity, some flexibility with Sonos, though, because it's just that single HDMI port. And so you have to weigh all of those things. But I don't hate Sonos. Far from it. We have Sonos products in our house everywhere. Everywhere. We even have some Sonos products that I keep bumping off our schedule for review, partially because they're old, and I'm not sure if anyone cares what I have to say about a Sonos amp. But also partially right now, Sonos is going through some things because their app and all of that. And I don't want to pile on. I don't care. You know, people have their own issues and technological problems, and hopefully they'll get them solved and they'll make right by their customers. But I don't hate Sonos at all. In fact, I was a guest on one of their live streams. It didn't air on our channel at all, and not because we were like trying to hide it or anything. It was just a guest on one of their shows. It was a Christmas episode or Christmas guide or something like that. So yeah, I'm sorry if I gave anyone the impression that I hate Sonos. I mean, I know we made fun of the fact that you guys kept asking for an ARC review, and I kept not being able to get one. And so, yeah, I know I taped some bond paper to a Polk soundbar.
Oh, that was during our 200,000.
Yeah, our 200,000 subscriber episode.
Yeah.
I wrapped a Polk soundbar in white paper and with marker wrote Sonos on it. And I I trolled you guys a little bit, but that doesn't mean I hate Sonos. That's just me having some fun.
No, we use their products all the time.
Yeah, their ARC is a reference point. Their ARC is a reference point. In fact, their ARC is set up in our current guest bedroom. So, well, it's not set up. It's in the guest bedroom. It's not set up. Nothing is set up in our guest bedroom. There we go.
The guest bedroom has become a storage room.
It is a walk-in closet for speakers.
Yeah.
And I hate it. I have a 14 by 23 room using a Denon AVR, 8000F for fronts, 504C center, 600M for surrounds. I have to sit close to the rear wall for best bass. It's weak in the middle of the room. Thoughts on how to improve? Yeah, you have to move around. You may have to just completely flip the room, if you will, because what you're describing is a null. And where you want to sit, that's just the bass null of the room. So maybe pull your speakers out and see if that doesn't change the relationship between you and them. Move your seat out of that null, or maybe you have to just do what I love to do, much to my wife's dismay. Move all the furniture out of the room and reimagine it. You don't have to buy anything because we know that the 8000Fs do not suffer from a lack of bass. We know this. So it is the setup and how it's been implemented in your room. So knowing that, really the thing to address is how it's set up and placed in your room. And it just takes experimentation. Video Bandit replaced your and Kay's beloved Sony SSCS3s I had with new JBL Stage 2 towers, front and bookshelf in the rears. Any reviews in the works on JBL's new speakers?
Wait.
Oh. Okay, you guys.
Too soon.
No. You know, let's do story time. Let's do story time. Early July, I got a cryptic phone call from a representative at Harman. Andrew, I can't tell you what it's for, why, and don't ask me any questions. I promise I can't tell you. But you need to go to LA. You need to go to LA in like 2 or 3 weeks. And can I count on you to be there? I'll pay for flights. To which my answer is the same as anyone. No.
Well, the first thing was like, well, what is this about?
What is this about? We just kept hammering. What is this about?
Can't tell you.
Can't tell you. Can't tell you.
It's big. It's super important.
It's massive.
And so Andrew was like, oh, is it like what was it you thought it was going to be? Maybe?
I thought they were going to announce new Everest speakers. So there was a part of me that I was like, oh man, if I don't. And I was like, just send me the stuff. Just send it to me.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is. Just put it on a truck. Send it to me. I won't talk about it until after whatever this thing is in LA. So anyway, fast forward. We don't do these types of things. We don't. It doesn't give me any clear picture of what something's supposed to sound like, what it's supposed to perform like. I'm not here as a marketing arm for anything. I get why these events happen. I do, but that's not my thing. That's not what we do. And so on this call, I was like, look, no, but tell me what it is. Like, I'll sign an NDA. Just tell me what it is.
I think that a lot of these kinds of events, it seems as if they want to do them in lieu of actually sending the product.
Yes.
So you end up being in a space with like 10, 15 other people, and you're given a limited amount of time. And of course, they want you to film it and cover it. Yeah. Because, hey, that's great marketing for them.
For them. But like I said, we're not a marketing company. I'm not here to make promo videos for your unveiling event.
And especially unless you're going to pay us.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that because I wouldn't call it a review. I'd be like, hey, JBL brought us out to Hollywood to show you this. But when they're like, well, can't you just do that? I'm like, why would I do that? So anyway, they come out with this whole new speaker line and receivers, obviously. And we're like, will you just send that stuff for review, please? And for a minute there, they were like, yeah, of course. And then in the last 10 days, 2 weeks or so, before we send anything, you need to sit on a 45-minute call with someone at JBL. And they need to walk you through.
Here comes Katie.
They need to walk you through stuff. And it's not that this is a unique ask or that this has never happened, but in a lot of ways, we do try not to do these sorts of things, especially when we don't have the product already. Because what are we going to talk about if I don't already have it in my house unboxed, where maybe I have questions like, hey, I took it out of the box, I plugged it in, and while I have you, representative from JBL, you can give me your spiel, fine, but I have a question that needs immediate answering. But they're like, no, we're not going to send it until you sit through this, call it presentation. And that creates a really interesting conundrum for me, because essentially I have to sit through the sales pitch, and it is undue influence, in my from my perspective. Not to say that I can't be a grown up and I know it's like, oh, okay, I sat through your little presentation, brain dump, erase, forget it, send the product. But I also don't like the fact that, and this is happening with some growing regularity, that there is an attempt to influence the results by saying, hey, only look at a product this way. Only really consider how you talk about it in this way. Or when they're like, hey, I know you're really well known for this, that, and the other thing, but we want you to know that we are never trying to compete with this or that, or, you know. And so I just find that these can be kind of invasive types of conversations. And I really try and avoid undue influence, bias, whatever word you want to use, as best as possible. And so when they let it be known to us that while there are boxes with labels on them that are supposedly supposed to come to us, they're not going to get put on a truck until I sit through something.
And we have made attempts.
And we have made attempts to find time to do this.
And we just, everybody's busy.
Everyone's busy. Our schedules aren't aligning. We've let them know politely that our schedules are not aligning. I don't know if the stuff's going to be sent, but if it's not, when things free up, I'll just buy them. I'll buy some sample of them, and we will bring you that review at some point. But what I thought was going to happen sooner is probably not going to happen that quickly. How do BMW 606 S3 and ELAC Debut 3 compare? Are the 606 much more dynamic? What's best for pop rock? This is addressed head on in our ELAC Debut 3 review. You will have the best explanation that I can give you in that review. If you haven't seen that review already, I'll ask Kristi to link to the ELAC Debut 3 review right now.
Okay, one moment.
You will have, hopefully, all the information that you need. I can't tell you which one is going to be best for you, but I think I'm pretty clear in that video what I think you can expect.
It is now in the chat box.
Chris Veltman, what's up with your canner amp? Fixed. It's not fixed because there's one troubleshooting thing that I need to do on it to make sure that it's like actually something's wrong with it. It may just be that I have a tube that's going bad and my schedule has just not allowed for me to purchase a replacement set, put that in, and see if that's not really the problem. Because once I realized in my initial troubleshooting that it is possible that I just have a set of tubes that may be going bad. Until I source those, I'm not going to put in for a repair request. But it's slow because honestly, that's not an amp that, while it is in my personal collection, it's not an amp that I get to enjoy all that often. I definitely don't even plug it in the summertime because it will raise the ambient temperature of my room 5-10 degrees without question. So as it's getting cooler now, yeah, I might get to spend a little bit more time with it. Robo, thank you so much for your super chat. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I'll get to it in just a second.
Okay. She is...
I'm typing to 808 Love Labs.
What does 808 Love Labs want?
It's between me and 808, okay?
Okay.
Hold on. All right. Robo. I have the Marantz SR 8015.
Okay.
And I've been considering getting the Eversolo DMP A8. I'm just wondering if I would be plugging it directly into an HDMI port.
You want the A8, I'm assuming, as like a DAC streamer. If you're going to get the A8 and you want to use its better DAC and whatnot, you would not use the HDMI port. You would go analog out of the A8 into your receiver analog inputs, maybe the CD input or the aux input, because that would bypass the 8015's DAC and enable you to enjoy the benefits of the A8. You would not use a digital connection. If you use a digital connection, coaxial, optical, I'm trying to remember the back panel of the A8 right now. I don't think it has an HDMI audio out, or does it? I don't know, but if you go in digitally, you're going to be relying on the Marantz's DAC inside the receiver, in which case you may find that it is not as good as the A8. That's an easy experiment to run, by the way, if you get the A8, and to find out if which one's right for you. But if you're buying the A8 and investing in it, I have to assume it's because you want the upgraded streamer DAC capability, in which case you're going to go analog out of the A8. Okay, I saw another one just pop in here, and then I think we might be wrapping up. Might give you another 10 minutes or so. Don't you use your TV streaming built-in apps, and why? Yes, we do. Well, actually,
We use Apple TV.
we use Apple TV 4K. We will always compare and contrast the built-in operating system and apps of any television with what we see on our Apple TV. And now that we have a new media streamer, and we literally yesterday just got a Kaleidoscape, a lot of comparisons are about to happen because I'm super intrigued. But we use Apple TV over the built-in apps, even though I'm a big fan of the Google operating system that is installed on a lot of televisions, that we're just such a
I just like the way that
Apple-centric.
everything's organized.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I mean, well, I
We're
don't
just-
think it's a secret that we're Apple users. So
Yeah.
we have MacBooks and, Apple computers, and
Yeah.
our phones are iPhones. And so it's a very unilateral experience.
Universal,
whatever.
cohesive experience.
You knew what I meant.
Yeah. And the Apple TV 4K is fantastic in that regard. And the new dialogue enhancement feature that's built into it that just got part of the update, she's like, maybe that's topic for a whole video. I don't know if it's a whole video, but so far I'm like, they're doing some things. They're doing some things. It's like, look out, Bose. Apple may have come up with something. But that's why. It's just what we prefer. G Papa.
Yeah, G Papa's in the house.
Chance on reviewing Dutch and Dutch 8C or K23. Their cardioid dispersion character reduces the influence of listening environment, making them perform exceptionally regardless of the situation. Dutch and Dutch 8C. I don't know what that is.
No
Is
idea.
there a chance once we get off this stream and I Google it and I read all about it?
Oh, wait. Sure, that's double Dutch? Oh, I think that's a joke.
Oh, I'll Google it. I'll read all about it, and then we'll see. Because I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea whatsoever. I don't know what that is. But thank you so much, G Papa, for the support. Okay, I think
we've gotten to everybody.
I think I'm there. I'm seeing a bunch of people now talking about Macs, and yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's always like a wild conversation going on in the chat box.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure no one's really listening to what you're saying.
You know,
I
it's
mean,
probably
maybe,
for the best.
maybe like it's like background noise.
Yeah, it's probably for the best. Okay.
Oh, Dutch and Dutch active speakers.
Oh,
Jesse Lewis chimes in.
okay. All right. I will have to Google that because I am not familiar with that. So anyway, let's see. Any other housekeeping things that I need to make you guys aware of? We've got a fun review coming up on Sunday. It's a little bit different for us. Some of you, you're gonna skip it. I already know you will because no, it's not. I'm not upset about it. You're gonna skip it just because it's not. You don't tune into us for that sort of a thing. But I love them. I love it, and we kind of preview a product that I think some of our more design oriented fans. I think you're gonna like the preview in Sunday's video of what's around the bend because it's a very interesting product. Very, very interesting product. That review is coming.
Clem says, "Oh no, he's doing umbrella stands."
Umbrella stands.
Someone highlighted the fact that you used to do camera reviews. I think you did like one.
I did maybe 2 or 3.
No, it was just like what? Oh, that was before you were.
That was
on another channel, wasn't it?
Yeah. I did like 2 or 3.
But we talked about the GR camera.
GR2.
What's the brand of it called?
Ricoh. Which we still have.
Really early on. I mean, we are. Well, we were both.
I mean, obviously, we are camera aficionados.
Yeah. We had camera jobs.
Yeah.
I was a photographer for over 10 years. And he was, directing movies and.
Yeah, I think there's
pictures.
10 or 12 cameras in this house, right now, and I've owned quite a few. You've owned quite a few. Ricoh, that GR2 it's such a great camera. I was shocked the other day because I'm always trying to downsize, and I'm always looking for excuses to just clear stuff out. I hate clutter. You never know it working on this channel, but sometimes you lose the battle. But yeah, I was on KEH.com, which is a secondhand camera store market. And I bought the GR2, which she never used.
Because I wanted a Leica.
She wanted a Leica.
And we couldn't afford it.
So I bought her a GR2. She never used it. I ended up using it. I loved the camera, fell in love with it. I want to say I paid $600 for it new. And I bought it on Amazon. Nothing special. Turns out you can't get Ricoh GR2s, GR3s, anything. And the GR2 is trading for like $1,500 all day long. So it's probably the only piece of tech I've ever purchased that has appreciated in value. But no, eventually got you a Leica Q2. They just came out with a Leica. Well, the Leica Q3 has been out for a minute, but they just announced a new version of the Q3 with a 43mm lens f2 Summilux. I don't think I'm going to buy it, but it is kind of intriguing.
I was using the Leica Q2 a lot in weddings towards the end of that business, and I loved it. We shot a couple in Paris when we were actually on our honeymoon.
Yeah, you've seen that video, by the way.
And it's, for me personally, it's among the work I'm most proud of, and it's just unfortunate that, the pandemic came in and really closed a lot of businesses down, and my my photography and our team business, which was 1812 Weddings, doing both video and photo for weddings.
Destination weddings, we were shut us down.
We had so much good stuff in the pipeline coming. We were going to be traveling.
Yeah, we were booked out to almost into 2-year territory. Not solid, like we weren't traveling but we had bookings that we would be doing right now or last year if we didn't have to shut down.
Yeah. So,
but
anyway.
Yeah, we're big into cameras. I don't think I'm going to start doing camera reviews. But anything like that.
I think you've had a couple of more.
Brett writes in, do the Sony Theater Quad Q990D compete sonically for an equivalent price traditional system? I think if you're going for a more traditional non-soundbar-like setup and you want the sound of, say, like I said, modest bookshelf speakers with a separate sub set up correctly with good room correction, the Sony Theater Quad is as good or better in that regard than a lot of more budget, call it $1,500 to $3,000 separate AVR speaker systems. It really, really is good. And if you're looking for a stereo experience from a system that has the ease of use of a soundbar, the Quad is going to monster anything that relies on a single bar. As good as the Q990D is, the Quad monsters it in stereo imaging and that more traditional hi-fi experience. So, oh, okay, hold on. Let's see here. I gotta switch my view. What are your thoughts on getting a Cinema 70 for 7.2 using a named SuperNate to power the main 2 channels? Other AVR options to consider. I mean, the preamp outs on the Marantz are pretty decent, and you can put those preamp outs into pure preamp mode, which makes them, I guess, more flexible or better. The name Supernate, I don't know anything about that particular amp. I'm a big fan of name amplification. I really, really am. I think their amplifiers are phenomenal. The 222 amp that we had, I was really in love with how it sounded. I could take or leave the preamp, and I know the 222 is different from what you're describing, but I could take or leave the 222 preamp, but I thought the amp was really something. I really liked it. So, yeah, I think you'd probably be okay. Let's see. What is Chris Veltman? Chris Veltman, he asked a question about Josh.
Yeah, about YouTube, his channel, and was the juice not worth the squeeze? And I basically said that YouTube, having a channel, if you're just doing it for fun and it's not like you're not trying to make it your form of income, it's really hard. If you want to have any sort of following or growth, it takes so much commitment and time, and you're creating for no one.
Creating for no one, for free.
You have to be willing to create for no one for a really long time with no earning potential or very, very little. I mean, when we first started, we were making, we got a check from Amazon AdSense for like $100 or something, and we were excited.
Well, no, it was, I think we were 6 months in, 5 or 6 months in to the channel. This was 4 years ago now. And you don't get paid from AdSense until you amass more than $100 in earnings. So Google will just keep the money until you crest $100 in earnings. And so about four to
and
six.
You can't even monetize now.
Well, no, monetization and how you get paid are two different things. I don't know the exact rules for becoming eligible for monetization on YouTube anymore. Obviously, we've been monetized for a while. Back when I launched the channel initially in 2012, this channel under my name was really designed to take you behind the scenes on my film projects. So my very first videos on this channel, which I filmed with a flip camera, were like me running to meetings and me like going to tech scouts and just taking you along, the audience along with me, because we were in the middle of pre-production on a whole other movie. And I'd already made my first film, and we were on pre-production for a whole other movie. And so I made a YouTube channel under my name to let people see the process, because I was like, win, lose, or draw, if the movie doesn't make a nickel or doesn't get off the ground, this is good entertainment. And I didn't think about monetization. I was just like, YouTube doesn't charge me for video hosting? And so that's how this channel started back in 2012, 2013.
I've never even seen those.
They don't exist anymore.
Are they private or are they?
No, they're gone. Like, I just deleted them.
Oh,
because
that's sad.
The film project eventually like died. Like, we couldn't get it going.
Oh, okay.
But I was just like, here's the prop house that we're doing this, and we're doing lighting tests and all of that stuff. And it was truly off the cuff, a full peek behind the curtain. And maybe a video would be watched by 30 people. Like, I never did like hundreds or whatever views. 'Cause I also didn't promote it. I didn't have a website. I didn't do anything like this. This was just for fun for me. But what I didn't realize is that in like the year that was going on, like eventually I had gotten 1,000 subscribers in like a year. Unintentionally. In like a year, I think I got like 1,200 followers. And this is, again, early YouTube, back when you could just say, hey, follow me, and like people would, and it would matter. You go on any social media now and you're like, hey, please follow me, and no one does. And organic growth is almost impossible. And so I was monetized. I didn't even know what that meant. But then the film project didn't work out, and then I started to shift gears. I tried a different film project. That didn't work out. And then I didn't shut the channel down, but I just took all the videos and I deleted them. But the channel still existed because I needed to be able to make comments on other YouTube videos. So anyway, then in whatever year it was, I was in Nashville and I was sick and recovering, and I started to review gear that I had, and I called it the home cinema experience. And anyone that's dealt with substance abuse, you should probably be able to identify the telltale signs that in those videos I was struggling hard. I was like, oh boy, you watch some of those videos, which are all deleted or private. You will never see them again. I was just like, wow, that's harsh. That's rough. Anyway, but I made some videos during that time to kind of occupy my time and occupy my brain.
There was one about subwoofer placement or something that...
It was like GoPro in my head style.
That still was really...
Yeah, so...
that one was highly watched.
Yeah, so
Did you make it private?
Yeah, because we redid it. We redid it. So yeah, those videos existed, and those kind of got some viewership. Like those kind of got like 1,000 to 5,000. Maybe I had one or two that did better than 5,000 views. And I think I made 20 to 25 videos that way, and then I just stopped. I didn't make another video on the YouTube channel until basically the pandemic.
Well, you had started, I believe you had started playing with the idea because you were working with some other...
I was consulting with some other companies like Argosy, who makes, something catch your eye? Oh, I was consulting with some other companies like Argosy that makes professional mixing gear or mixing desks and consoles. And so I was opening their eyes up to the concept of brand videos. And I worked with Jobber. I did some brand videos for Jobber, which is a Canadian software company that makes productivity software. Anyway, so yeah, I started making some videos on this channel at the start of like the pandemic, and Vinyl Sucks like took off, which was our second or third video. Vinyl Sucks.
Which is so unfortunate because we didn't even have ads turned on, or
we didn't have any like monetization turned on. We didn't know about like view rate. Like we just didn't know, but like it did like 100,000 views in a week. And it got us from like 5,000 subs to like 20,000 subs in a month. And I was like, oh boy, that's crazy. But the video...
And that video has earned... It's had like, how many million?
That video has had over 2 million views. And because we never set it up really to do anything, to date, it has made $437 in 4 years on 2 million views. It's made $400. But I'm grateful for that video because it really helped to start. At that time, I was like, oh, maybe we're not going to be screwed here. Yeah, it didn't pay us an AdSense. So we got our first AdSense check about 4 months into this experiment, and it was for $133, if I'm not mistaken. And I was like, whoa.
Oh yeah, we were like, oh my gosh.
We just earned a check from Google, Alphabet Inc., off of videos. And then the next month, the check was for like $270. And I went...
And meanwhile, remember, this was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
We weren't able to work. Andrew had lost all of his contracts because people were struggling. My business of 12 years closed. We were living off of, at the time I was getting a PPP. What was it? What were those things called? The PPE or whatever.
Yeah.
You I'm sure you remember, where you could get some government assistance while everybody was in lockdown. And that equated about $300 a month, or sorry, $300 a week for me that I was eligible for.
Yeah.
And I don't have to tell you, that is very difficult to survive on. So we were just thankful to get any extra income at that time.
Yeah.
We really were. Because we
were eating into savings.
Oh, yeah.
We were eating into like credit card debt, the whole thing. And so after a year of doing this, after the first year, and I made a video where the title was "You Saved Us," where I was just thanking you guys for just tuning in. Because mental health wise, you saved my ass. Because I had a purpose, I had a job, I had something to do other than just sit and watch TV and doom scroll. Like you gave me the semblance of a career, in that I still had to go to work every day, and that was so important for up here. But that month, that was a December video on our first year, but that month we got a check from Google AdSense for like $2,500, I think it was. And that allowed us for the very first time to pay our expenses and our bills without needing to dip into savings. And that was like a super emotional moment. It really was, because we had also crested 70, 100, maybe 100,000, 75 or 100,000 at that point, subscribers. And a year later, I literally took, after taxes, I took this entire AdSense thing and I paid our monthly bills. And I was like, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. If I keep this up and I just do what I've done, we're going to be okay. Now, I didn't sit there and go, I can figure out a way to double this. I was just going, I need this much to be safe and secure and cover our ass. So if next month we can do it, we're going to be okay. If the month after that we can do it, we're going to be okay. And it just sort of kind of has grown organically, from there.
And it has been organic. We've never paid for subscribers or paid for followers on Instagram or anything. I mean, and I know that that's something people do when they're getting started, because you need the follower count in order for the algorithm to start presenting your work. Mm-hmm. But we haven't done that. Every effort we've made on Andrew's Instagram channel, profile, whatever, and this channel has been completely 100% organic.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm not going to lie, I think while the pandemic was absolutely detrimental in so many ways for so many people,
I would trade everything that we've had to not have anyone have to go through that.
Of course. But and I'm talking more on a financial perspective on our end. Like we've already said, we had to basically find a new way to make a living. But I also think that created a situation where so many people were at home and they were watching more and more content because we were in lockdown. And I believe that helped propel our channel a little bit more quickly than if we were trying to start this same channel right now. Mm-hmm. I think if you're like, oh, I've always thought about doing a YouTube channel or whatever, but you haven't done it yet, and you're thinking maybe I'll start it in a month, just know it is hard. Josh, his brother's a great example of that. I mean, he was making content almost every day on his gaming channel.
He probably had 3 to 4 videos a week of a very high quality.
And yes, the gaming genre on YouTube is highly, highly competitive. Mm-hmm. But unless you can really find a niche for yourself, it's very difficult to get going.
Yeah.
And you have to have the patience and the financial means also.
Yeah.
In order to sustain it. You really do have to have another full-time job while you do YouTube on the side. So,
And in the hopes that it connects. And some genres are easier to find a connection with than others. Gaming is super competitive.
yeah.
But yeah, it's been one of those things. Like I'm incredibly proud of how we've grown and the manner with which we've grown and how we've remained true to who we are the entire time. I mean, I'm loving the conversation over here. I'm seeing a lot of very kind things. I'm seeing some misconceptions and stuff like that.
What are you talking about?
Todd brings up a good point, you know, and Todd, you touched upon one of my bigger fears that I struggle with how to navigate, to be honest with you. Concerned about having just one customer, Google, YouTube. They are in total control of your compensation, could greatly reduce your pay or shut you down. This is true. This is very true. And I too am aware of that. And I am always looking for ways to diversify, but diversification is a bit of a double-edged sword. Especially, it seems, in our little corner of YouTube. Some people are better at navigating it than others, and I don't pretend to understand how or why. I would love to learn. But with respect to us and this channel, because of how we've kind of done things, last year we ran the experiment for about 6 months. We ran the experiment where I was saying yes a little bit more to like third-party sponsorships.
We even had a management team.
We discussed and we worked with a management team because I wanted...
Well, this was during the time where Andrew was, if you're
caught
just,
earlier in the stream.
Yeah, if you caught earlier in the stream, or maybe you're just now joining us, there was a time last year where Andrew was really struggling with just the workload. Because I know some people think that because I'm behind the camera that I must be filming and stuff. And I wish I could take credit for that, but I can't. You know, Andrew writes the script. I then go in and edit it and try to make it where it sounds like he's actually talking to somebody rather than writing for print. And then he films all the B-roll. He does all the testing. I come in towards the end and I do my subjective listening or whatever, watching.
For comparison's sake.
And he edits every single video himself. I handle more of the business side, you know, reaching out to vendors or responding to requests from vendors, getting shipping set up, and, you know, I'm like an admin in a way.
Well, it's kind of also how we help separate church and state.
We try.
We do our best. But like my day starts, legitimately, my day starts at 6:30, and I consider it a win when I'm done at 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. And I do that 7 days a week. But anyway, what I was saying, last year, when I was really struggling about whether or not I was going to continue to do the channel, because it was so overwhelming, and I felt that I had lost myself as a person and as a creative, and I was like, I need help. I need help. And one of the people that I don't have a personal relationship with this person, just FYI, I don't. But they are a creator that I have watched for inspiration, as sort of like someone that has navigated this space for over a decade. And that was, it's Philip DeFranco, who runs a news channel, by the way. And he made a video, I don't even remember what it was, but he made a video on like his second channel where he talked about the creator struggle in a podcast form. And I remember being in almost tears, like listening to that, because that's how I was feeling. And in that video, he dropped a link to a company he was starting to help people who were creators that were trying to get past that block. And I wrote him, and I'm like, hey, I don't know if I qualify, I don't know this, but I need help. I need help. And so they were very kind. And, you know, we worked with them for like 6 months.
Close to a year.
Oh, yeah, 6 months to a year. And the team was phenomenal. They're very nice people. And it was nice to feel like you weren't alone in what you were doing. Sometimes I didn't have always the time to jump on the team building calls and stuff, but I really appreciated the check-ins. I really did. And so they were bringing us third-party sponsors because part of our deal was we weren't going to turn them on to any of our contacts that we use to get review gear to bring you unpaid reviews on this channel, because I never wanted the line to get blurred. And so they brought us third party like Clean My Mac and Vessi and like Factor and stuff like that. And our rule was very simple. I have to put hands on and test everything before I agree to do a 60-second ad read. And so Vessi sent me some shoes. I walked around in them for months before we ran that ad. You know, we ate Factor food for a couple of weeks before we ran that ad. Because I wasn't about to jeopardize my integrity. And so they were doing these things. And I will admit to you, it really helped take the burden off Todd here. It really helped take the burden off and that pressure, that little devil in the back of your mind that's like, it's all going to go away. It's all going to go away tomorrow. And so I had some stability, freedom during that time. Like, I didn't wake up in abject terror that I was one step away from this all being over. But the downside of that was the audience really started to resent the channel. And the audience really started to let it be known that there were going to be consequences for what they saw as cash grabs. And we started looking at the numbers. And while I had the diversification and I had the freedom, audience retention, view duration, views in general, they were going down. And people were upset. And the linchpin for me was I noticed quite a few people that I had seen week in and week out for years, that I had felt like on a surface level, we had kind of gotten to know one another. They disappeared. Like, they weren't watching anymore and they weren't saying hi. I wasn't able to say hi to them. And I thought, is that worth it? You know, is the diversification of the little bit of financial freedom that these sponsors really do allow us to have had, is it worth the bigger picture of what we're trying to do here? And ultimately, the stress of trying to now maintain the balance between what you guys will tolerate versus the demand for a channel like ours when it comes to sponsors. I mean, don't get me wrong, sponsors want in. They want into what we have here, left, right, and center. They'll run an ad every day, every week if we let them. And then that balancing between the sponsorship and you guys, that became more stressful than when I was just like, I have no life. So we parted with the management company on very good terms. I recommend everybody over there. They're fantastic. It just wasn't the right fit for us. It just wasn't the right fit for us. And that's why you haven't seen any ads on the channel. I'm actually afraid to run them, to be honest. I'm actually afraid to run them. We get asked all the time. I probably turn down thousands of dollars a month in what would not even be conflicts of interest to this channel as far as ad spends. Because I'm afraid. I'm legitimately afraid.
Yeah, there's so much backlash. I mean, I'm sure it happens with other types of content, but especially in the hi-fi and home theater genre, I mean, there's just there's a prevailing attitude where if you do something that many people consider to be a hobby, and you're making a living off of it, that's suddenly bad, and that it makes you not credible. It makes you on the take. You're paid for. You're a paid shill. Whatever. I mean, those kinds of comments are a dime a dozen. But it does make it difficult on how do you run your business, because this is a business. We've never shied away from that.
Well, I mean,
That doesn't mean you can't have a business and still enjoy what you're doing. I mean, isn't that the goal in life? Isn't it the goal in life that you are able to go to work every day, earn a living, and be proud of your work and be happy with what you're doing? Because there's a lot of people, myself included, I had a desk job for years and years and years before I began my photography business. I mean, hell, I was still working part-time for the University of Texas, going like about 8 or 9 years into my professional career as a photographer, because it's really hard to let go of that security. But I've had jobs where I was miserable. And so if you're able to be in a position, and it doesn't have to be YouTube, it can be whatever it is. If you find personal enjoyment in that, and it also allows you to have a roof over your head, what is wrong with that?
yeah.
And I think that this community especially has grown more skeptical and more over the years.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that there isn't reason or there's not justifications that have come about that you shouldn't be skeptical, but I think that it has become such the go-to. Like everything is immediately in question. And that becomes a challenge as a creator, because then you're like, well, oh man, like I feel like all we're doing is have to reassure people that no, we're not being paid by the brands. Yes, we do have affiliate links, but maybe you don't realize it, but you do not, us having an affiliate link does not affect the price that you pay, ever.
It doesn't affect the price you pay. It also is not something you have to use. And it's there so that, yes, it is a diversification of our revenue stream. It is. But the client, the customer, the person that signs that check is not the brand.
Or if it's the brand, it's their decision to make that call. Like we recently got a direct affiliate relationship with ELAC so that we can link to their website, to the speaker, and if you decide to buy it, we earn a couple of dollars. Like it really does amount to that. I know somebody was suggesting that we were earning like 20% on, that other video that's come out. And they spoke so confidently, as if they knew, like as if they had spoke to us or spoke to somebody else. And like I just read those comments and I'm like, man,
well, I mean,
where are you getting this information? Because that's not true.
You didn't speak
It's not true. And we don't have relationships with every single brand.
No.
If they sell it on a Crutchfield or Amazon, that's a way cleaner relationship for us. But if we can earn a few more percentage points by going directly with the brand, I mean, honestly, does that not benefit everybody? It benefits them. A lot of you don't like to shop on Amazon. So it gives you more choices to make your purchase, and we link to everybody.
Well, I want to just clarify something that you said, because what you just said is going to get clipped.
Oh, great.
It's going to get clipped because you use the word relationship.
Well, okay.
Look, obviously when you're dealing with Amazon or you're dealing with a large online presence, like it's a bit more of a corporation type of thing. Like I don't believe that Amazon could pick me out of a lineup, and I don't know who I would call if I had an issue with the affiliate program at Amazon. Now, yes, on a one-to-one business or brand relationship, like ELAC sells online, they extended the invitation like, hey, can you link to us directly on, review or whatnot? It's like, that's fine. We also link to everyone else. And just to be clear, if anyone out there believes that my integrity is worth the 1, 2, 3, 4% that I can kind of reasonably rely on getting on an affiliate link, come on. And I think that the body of our work shows that obviously we are not beholden to anybody. There are plenty of brands out there that will tell you, like, I really wish Robinson would give me a heads up that he's about to drag me face down through the mud on my product. I really wish I could, reach out to him and be like, hey, what do we have to do to maybe not do this? And it's like, no, you can't do that with me. You can't. And so B&W 600 series version 2. Sorry, just wasn't for me, man. But I also shared what I found. We still link to the product on Amazon. There was still an affiliate link on that review. And in that review, I tell you, I wouldn't buy these. Guess how many people would go and buy those regardless of watching a video saying, they said, I don't think these are for me. Still use the affiliate link and buy it. More than you would imagine.
And I don't know how many times somebody comes on a live stream like this or SuperChats us on a video and be like, well, what do you recommend, this or this? Is it 10 times worth the price? Or what, do you know the kind of question I'm talking about? And we can't answer those questions for you. Like we can only share our experience, but we always preface like, you have to take a look at your own listening environment, your tendencies, your preferences, and you ultimately have to make those decisions on your own. And if I said something that is going to end up ultimately getting clipped and reused, and you'll have Andrew's face, or maybe it'll be an old $5 fines of mine where I'm creeping in the corner, you know what? Go for it. You're welcome for the clicks. We're just trying to be transparent.
Yeah.
And we're trying to share with you how we run our business, how we operate, how you can contribute or not contribute.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we have to make a living because we cannot do this. We couldn't sit here for 3 hours and stream with you if we didn't also earn a living from what we do.
Yeah.
Somebody asked earlier, like, what's, because I'm sure they're talking about what time of day it is and that there's so many people watching. Like, are you retired or, unemployed?
No, you're watching me at my 9 to 5.
And
You're watching me during normal business hours. If I wasn't live streaming with you, I can tell you right now, 12:25. Well, we might be breaking for lunch. But apart from that, I would have 2 furniture dollies full of speakers. I would be in this room because today would not be an editing day. Okay, normal Friday, instead of this, we would be chatting with you live in the comments of an Unplugged that wasn't live. And we would be doing that for 90 minutes. That's our schedule. The first hour to 90 minutes of any video launch on Friday or Sunday, we are in our comments answering you directly. That is part of the schedule. At 90 minutes or so, I have a hard cut because I have other things I have to go do. Sometimes Kristi doesn't have a hard cut, and she'll stay on and continue to answer questions as best she can. But from there, I'm going into, if it's a Sunday, I'm going into a pre-production writing phase where I'm finalizing scripts, I'm looking at the schedule, and I'm planning out my shot list for the rest of the week, because I often have to shoot B-roll ahead of the schedule of when the review is actually finished. And so I know if things can be paired together visually, I'll be able to kill multiple birds with one stone, if you will, to get myself ahead. And that starts Sunday, and that carries all the way over into Tuesday, where Mondays I have to sit here and shoot all of the footage besides my dumb face talking. I have to shoot all of the footage that I'm going to need for the next 2 videos and the next week so that I have content to pepper in and edit with. That's Monday. Monday nights, usually just before dinner, we read through the script for the following Sunday's video. We read through it. I do a dress rehearsal, and that can take anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. Then we break, we eat. Monday night, we're done. Tuesday morning, 6:30, I answer emails. I am setting up the studio by 7 a.m., and I'm usually done by 8:30, and I sit in a chair. Actually, I sit on this stool, and we record the full review, the talking head portion, a camera is what we call it. We record that review Tuesday mornings. If we start around 8:30, 9 a.m., the review is done recording by around 10:30. At that point, I set up a second mic, I change the lighting a little bit, or I touch up stuff, and then Kristi gets to do her part with the Unplugged, in which case I have no idea what's coming.
No, he has none.
I have no idea. I sit here, and she just peppers me with questions. We usually wrap up filming Tuesdays around 1 o'clock. I break everything down, fold it all up, put it all away in the one closet where it all fits. I start downloading the footage. We shoot everything in 6K, blah, blah, blah. So it takes a couple of hours to offload that footage onto our work drives. While we're doing that, we eat. When that's done, I start doing rough assemblies of the 2 episodes for the week immediately. Because if we run into technical issues, if we run into, we forgot to cover this, we forgot to mention this, we're not too far away removed from, I remember what I was saying. I go grab all the stuff, I bring it all back out, and we re-record. If I don't have that problem and the rough assemblies go well, I am rough assembling into Tuesday night. We break for dinner, my day is over. I have to finish the Unplugged episode by Wednesday, 3 p.m. I have to, if I'm going to stay on schedule for the rest of the week. Those videos are over an hour long. And they all go through editing, sound mixing, B-roll, cleanup, post, offline, and then they get uploaded. Those videos take upwards of 2 to 3 hours to just upload to YouTube, at which time I don't even touch my computer because I worry about crashes and whatnot, which would start the whole process over again. That's Wednesday. And while it's rendering and doing all of that stuff, with all the color grades and shit like that, while it's doing all of that stuff, I begin evaluating whatever I'm evaluating. And I'll bring out literal furniture dollies of samples, and I'm A, B. Oh, man. I'll drag something into the back bedroom, listen to it in there. A, B, okay. Taking notes, taking measurements, doing all of that. That's Wednesday. Thursday morning, I wake up, I start editing the Sunday video, and I crank through that video. I have to get it done Thursday, end of day, because Friday, I'm back to testing and back to evaluating. And keep in mind, at night, after dinners and whatnot, we're still evaluating. But we're evaluating a little less critically. We're living with these products.
We do. We're,
I
like, hey, I want to listen to some music, and I'm doing my own sort of evaluating in those moments as well when he's off doing his stuff that's not, that where I can actually take over our living space. But yeah, when we're sitting down to dinner and we've got a AVR that we have in for evaluation, we're watching movies, TV shows, and we're thinking about how does this sound. Like, I make mental notes. I know he makes tons of them.
I text myself on my phone. I'm like, don't forget this. Or she'll have her laptop open next to me on the couch. And hey, open a new document in our drive. Write this down. Yeah. It happens all of the time. Like yesterday, I was literally watching the same movie, but on 2 different players, and with the remote, just changing the input. Like I hit play on them both at the same time, so they were running, and I was watching a movie I hadn't seen in 10 plus years, just hitting the input button back and forth because I'm just trying to compare the differences in bit rate while trying to enjoy myself, because this was not during evaluation time. So yeah, Friday I have to have Sunday's video done because I usually do more testing. I do my best to take Saturday light, and then Sunday it all starts over again. It all starts over again. And we work weeks, months in advance as far as like the evaluation of stuff. Like I said, you guys are seeing a brand new KEF speaker. This has been in-house for weeks.
No, it hasn't.
Yes, this one has been in this house for 2 weeks now.
It's been 2 weeks?
It's been 2 weeks.
Oh.
That review is still weeks away, but I've already put 2 weeks of time on this. You're seeing it for the first time. Maybe it's been 12 days.
Yeah, I don't think it's been 2 weeks.
12 days.
I want to say maybe a week.
No, it's been longer than a week.
All right, it doesn't
They've
matter.
been in this room they've been unboxed and plugged in for more than a week.
All right. Well,
So somewhere between 10 and 10 days and 14 days. I don't know. Time has no meaning. So yeah. And this goes on 365. Even when we comment to you guys like, hey, no new video today, that ain't me kicking my feet up. That's no new video today because I'm behind. And somewhere in all there, brands like JBL want to make you sit on an hour-long phone call before they'll send you $200 speakers. And it's just like, I don't got the time. And I see some of you saying like, get an editor, get this. And trust me, I thought about it. I went after it. I even spoke to some editors. There is something about, I hope my ego is not the takeaway, or that this seems egotistical. But there is something about the content that I believe we create, and the way with which we create it, and the way with which I think people connect with it, that when I have attempted to let other people into that portion of the creative process, something has been missed. Something isn't going to translate. And so I'm very protective of that. I'm very, very protective of that. So yeah. I know at some point, though, I do know at some point I am going to have to stop. I am. But I don't know how to do that. In two ways. Like, I don't know how to stop as a person. I'm very much just I'm very self-motivated. I'm very much a workaholic. I don't want to say work is my identity, but the work I create is a reflection of my identity. And so it matters to me. It means a lot to me. And I like working. I do. Like, I get off on creating. I do. But I am getting older. And I feel it. Like, moving the MC312 3-4 times a week on top of furniture, on top of lights, on top of the SVS Titans. I mean, shoot, I flew them in and out for an A/B comparison 6 times in the last 4 days. Just flying them in for 10, 20 minutes and then putting them back on a furniture dolly and sliding them into storage. Like, you feel it. I still cut out about 45 minutes a day for myself to work out, even, lift and do all of that, because I'm doing it just to maintain average. I work my ass off to be average.
Babe, stop.
But yeah, it's I know I'm gonna have to stop. I don't know how. I don't know how. For me creatively, but also I don't know how actually logistically, because the second you stop, you don't earn any money. And while some people will take what I just said and be like, "See, he's money motivated," I'm survival motivated. I'm pay the bills, keep the lights on motivated.
Yeah, we don't live an extravagant lifestyle or anything. I mean, we have one car.
We have one car, which
we did invest in our outdoor living space this year.
but we partially did it to also diversify the content. Like, I don't know if there's many life decisions that we make that don't have a tinge or an element of how is this going to affect the channel somewhere in the conversation. And I'm being perfectly honest. Like, when you work for yourself, when you are your own business, like, there's not a lot of separation between personal life and business life. So, but yeah. Anyway, so I hope that was fun or informative. I don't know. Gives you maybe a little bit more insight. I don't know. I would caution. I've gotten the good fortune to get to know. I wouldn't say that we're like besties or anything like that, but I have had the good fortune through the grace of this job that we have, where Nemo Propaganda and I have started kind of speaking, and he said something to me the other day on a phone call, and he's like, I never understand when people start counting other people's money. And I thought, man, that's good, man. I've been around some people, I've been around some things. I have never heard that phrase. Don't count other people's money. And that was really refreshing to hear, because, you know, this I mean, it ebbs and flows. It ebbs and flows. But like this week especially was not about differences in opinion. Like the conversation over how people make a living and whether or not they have a right to make a living is kind of such low-hanging fruit that it's such an easy way to deflect or you know, try and cast dispersion on people. And it's what kind of holds creators in a lot of ways somewhat hostage.
You know, I actually think it's kind of bad for
And
everyone, because I think it kind of comes down to maybe a person saying, maybe it ends up having some people take a really hard look at their own life, and they're like, wow, there's some things that I would love to do, and I'd like, you know, and I wish I could do it and earn a living, but that's so hard. I mean, it is, you know, I've owned my own business, as I've said, and it's hard. You cannot stop when you work for yourself. And maybe that aspect of it's kind of almost like a mirror, you know, when you see somebody that's getting to do something, I kind of touched on this earlier, that you want to do and that you love and enjoy, it makes it more difficult to not let the envy side of every human being kind of creep in. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I don't know. It just kind of bugs me. Like, it really bugs me that life is hard. Like, just in general, life is hard. And we all have something, whether you need to understand that YouTube isn't easy, or I don't need anyone's, like, I don't need anyone to feel sorry for me. I'm willing to work hard for what I have, and I do work hard for what I have. But life is hard. Like, I'm in a very, very fortunate position that in a lot of ways I've worked really hard, but there's an element of luck to this. And I'm not immune to that. I would never sit there and be like, it was all me. No. And an element of luck goes even beyond just, oh, your channel popped off and someone else's didn't. I had luck on my side. I had a few instances of luck on my side long before any of you ever knew my punchable face. And so I think we lose sight of the fact that there are things in just everyday life, no matter at what tier of quote value or financial situation you find yourself in, that it's just hard. It's just hard. And we all have our thing that we're just trying to get through. And when disagreements, when differences of opinion, something as silly as like, I prefer this toy over that toy, becomes so personal, like it bugs me. It bugs me. And it bugs me the most when I end up having to have conversations with people that, at a minimum, should empathize on some level with what it's like to maybe be in this chair, and realize, like, no, I guess maybe I'm asking for too much, you know? Maybe I am. Because if you have an issue, or you want to know more, just ask. Just ask. I've taken every call. I've responded to I respond as best I can.
I mean, you're usually the one that picks up the call.
I am the one
Phone,
that often makes the
right?
call, yeah. But like, you guys have been hanging out with us now for 3 hours, and we're answering questions. We're interacting with you. Like, if some guy's sitting here going, "Oh, they make 20% commission." I can tell you, we don't. We don't. I would love that. I'll just be straight with you. I would love that. That would help tremendously. But that ain't the reality, and that ain't what happened. And I don't know where you're getting your information, but you're going to hear it from the horse's mouth right here. Never gotten 20%. It's never happened. But if you know somebody that's willing to give me that, I'd enter into the conversation. It wouldn't change my objectivity. It wouldn't change my views on how I'm not going to change who I am for an added percentage point.
Yeah, somebody commented, and I don't think they mean anything by it, but I think it is a sort of a prevailing attitude about you can make a lot more money if you, quote, sell out, but you don't, and that's why I watch.
Yeah, I mean,
what does selling out even mean? For some people, selling out means the fact that you earn anything at all.
yeah, some people consider us a sellout because I make AdSense revenue, and so I have to make content that people are going to watch, and that makes me a sellout, and that's why I'm not covering, a brand that makes, one product and whatever. And it's like, the bar for what is and is not a sellout, I guess that's going to differ for everybody. It really is. It really, really is. I can tell you that I could take someone's money in thousands of dollars. I could, and still tell you what I think of said product. I know I could, but I don't, because what I actually can't really sustain is the endless barrage of attacks that I would receive as a result. Like, I know on an individual level, like, I'm not for sale. And we were talking a little bit about this, like, back in my advertising days when I was a creative director. Like, Warner Brothers paid the company I worked for and helped, grow. They paid us millions of dollars. And you would think, when you enter into a boardroom with your client who's paying millions of dollars for a retainer, like, you're going to be there and just be like, "Can I take your order, please?" And anyone who's ever known me will know that I've been in those boardrooms and I'd be like, "I wouldn't do that. That sounds like a terrible idea. That sucks out. This movie's absolute trash." And I did that my whole career, even though I would do it in front of the people that were paying the company millions of dollars. Because at the end of the day, I would hate myself I would hate myself if I was like, hey guys, buy this widget, when I knew that widget exploded in my face. But they paid me a lot of money. So, if you're going to clip that comment, make sure you get the whole one, start to finish. But anyway, it's like, but the point being is that there are things that are more important than money. And while I don't care too much about what people think of me. No, anyone that tells you I don't care what people think is lying, because it's human nature. I don't care too much about what people say to me, and the attacks have definitely become really personal. And I do have a fundamental problem with people that might be in a position of power or an ability to do something about other people's reactions or actions, giving them time or a platform to spew their vile. I do have a problem with that, and we delete that shit from our comments when we see it. You're not allowed to talk shit about other people and make it personal on our channel. I don't even care if I like the person or not. You're just not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to be an asshole. But yeah, it's like, it's not for me. It's not the money. It's the mental health. There's certain things that I know I could do, I could take advantage of, that I could collect on, but I don't, because it's so detrimental to my mental health, because I am, for lack of a better word, now a public figure. And so in a lot of ways, while I would argue up, down, left, and right, like, you don't know me, you know what I show you, you know me more through, unscripted chats like this, but I wouldn't go so far as to assume that you know everything about me, just as I don't assume that I know everything about the audience. But that doesn't stop people from making assumptions. And boy, the more you play, the more you go down this road, the bigger the assumptions get, and the more damaging and crazy the assumptions can be. And it's just really, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, There were quite a few assumptions made about us this week, and I addressed them with the person that made them directly. And I don't think anything's going to come of it, to be honest. I don't. But anyway, that's enough out of me in this little rant. I will say this: if anybody's watching that is contemplating doing this, I would not shy you away from it. I wouldn't. But I also don't look at people like us, or better than us, or more established than us, and know it's possible. But know that you are going to work for it, and a little bit of luck is also going to be required. But that I'm here, this is my open invitation. I am here to be as good of a steward as I can. If you genuinely want to know something, I will do my best to tell you. You know how to reach me, and I want to be of help, because a lot of people help me. A lot of people help me. What you're seeing is not a person that knows everything. What you're watching is a person that is the sum total of countless people that came before me. And it hasn't just been one direct line. It's everything, It's everything. So
I think we have a couple of.
we do. I'm going to get back.
SuperChats
I'm going
to get to.
Yes,
so
I'm going to
that-
get back to the reason why you guys are here. But real quick, let's see. Where did I leave off? Okay. Whoa. You guys are very kind. I do appreciate it. But I need to get through these, and then I think we might have to call it. So we will be live again if you have a question. I have an L-shaped room, so ideal placement is hard. Should I switch from stereo to mono? One speaker with some sound for background music when not in the sweet spots. Any setup tips? I have an L-shaped room. Speaker placement is hard. Should I switch from stereo to mono? I mean, honestly, why not try both? You know, like for one evening that you're just kind of casually listening, leave it in stereo. Leave it in stereo, go about your life. Next night, you're going about your life, you're making dinner, walking around, put it in mono. Ask yourself Wednesday morning, what sounded better to you? And then stick with that. That's literally the easiest thing to do. And I think it would be more beneficial to you because it won't be me telling you what I think is best. It will be you discovering for yourself what's best. Between this channel and my teen son asking me about vinyl records, my love for music was renewed. Thank you. Hey, Brian, Ruby, thank you so much. I love that. Totally missed this. Just making our kitchen and bathroom plans. Any cool design ideas we should look at before we rip our 60s avocado bath suite out? I don't pretend to know what style of interior design or architecture anyone finds appealing. Much like hi-fi equipment, you might want one look, I might like another look. I can just tell you some of the places where I derive inspiration. It is a store. I have no affiliation, none. But boy, will you be exposed to designs and just imagery that you're not gonna get from like a Crate and Barrel. Archer Products, archieproducts.com there's no prices on it. It's really expensive.
Yeah, if you're lucky, you might come across something that has a price listed, but most of it's like inquire for more.
Yeah, it's like a high-end interior architecture Amazon. Like, because they have everything. There's so much there. You can look at wall coverings.
You can just be exposed to so much
stuff.
so many different designers and whatnot, and you can fall down a rabbit hole. As far as ripping out your 60s era avocado bath suite, man, are you sure you want to do that?
Can you send me pictures can you like DM me on Instagram with a photo? I'd like to see it. I would. I'd like to see it.
I know back in Austin, my bathroom, the only bathroom in the house before I remodeled it, was a pink and baby blue combo. So the tub and the shower, some of the shower tiles were blue. Mm-hmm. The sink was pink. And it was crazy.
Yeah.
If I could have reused some of those elements, I would have, but it just wasn't possible. But if your home is an era of this from the 60s, if you don't want to necessarily keep what you have, you could still maybe keep in the style of the 60s, mm-hmm. but go with something a little bit more modern, but like, for example, maybe like a smaller, maybe 1-inch square tile, mm-hmm. And you could do fun colors. I mean, avocado is probably still really popular right now. You may not even need to change anything.
Yeah. We watch, Archer Products, channels to check out for just inspiration. Local project, follow Architectural Digest, their channel. They do house tours and all of that. And it also sounds with like a 60s avocado bath suite. You might get a kick or might find some inspiration from the Emma Chamberlain house tour that AD did.
AD is a great fun
AD
channel.
is a great channel. Yeah.
John says that the carpet in here is like The Shining hotel stuff.
So yeah, let's see. Uh-oh.
You can fall down a lot of rabbit holes on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Kelly Behun Studio, Behun. on Instagram is a profile I follow that I really like. There's lots of mid-century stuff
Which is what we're into.
on Instagram. I was trying to scroll through my thing right now to see if one would come up, but
I've started also looking at a lot of just fashion, not so much home, but like fashion, like James Purse comes up a lot. I've been looking at a lot of Cartier design lately, which is inspiring me in other ways. So yeah, I have to move on to another question. I apologize, but maybe Kristi can chat that into the box. Are you watching Bad Monkey on Apple? Not yet. It's on the queue, but we haven't started it yet. Love the channel. Starting my first hi-fi system, moderate small room. Thinking B&W 705S3 or KEF R3 Meta with Marantz M1. That's a hell of a start. And you might be starting at the finish line, which is fine. If you can do it, skip right to the promised land. It's really going to come down to two things. If you've been to stereo stores and demoed speakers and things like that, and you find yourself gravitating a little bit more to a even keel, neutral sort of plays nice with everything sort of sound, and that has appealed to you versus when maybe speakers have been changed out or you've gone into other rooms and you've been like, oh, that seems a little brighter, that seems a little bit more, and you haven't liked that, go with the KEF. If you're like, no, what you just described when I go in the other room and I just feel like the music's different and I'm hearing more detail and this and that, go with the B&W. That's really the difference. Thank you. Paparoshi, thank you. Let's see. Focal Aria versus Klipsch 8000F Mark II versus Polkar 700. Boy, I'll say this. Neutrality, more of the typical Harman curve, a little bit of rise in the bass, pretty linear mid-range, nice tapered treble. That's the R700. A little bit more of a V-shaped curve, although the mid-range has gotten a little bit more linear, but more of a dynamic, kind of a punchy, fun vibe. Klipsch 8000F Mark II. Right in the middle is going to be your Focal Aria. Wishbone, you make this interesting and fun with the sincerity that few seem to have. Would love to see a return to some of the $5 fines and blog content, even if on a B-sides or second channel. Yeah, I had a lot of fun making those. Full disclosure, full transparency, it was a lot easier to make those when we were small. It was a lot easier to make those when we were a smaller channel. I don't know if we would return to that. I'm on the fence about it. There's a lot of security now aspects of that, or I don't want to say security. There's a lot of other concerns that we have now that we just didn't have 4 years ago, 3 years ago. There are people in this world that still can't accept the fact that, Kristi doesn't want to appear on camera. I back her up 100% for her reasons. And I mean, trust me, there are frickin' days, man, that I don't want to be on camera. Most days I don't want to be on camera, but even the days where I know I have to go on camera because it's a Tuesday, I don't want to do it. Like this last Tuesday for Sunday's video, like my eczema was out of control. It was out of control. It was all over my face. And I shouldn't be vain. I shouldn't, except for the fact that, I can't control what people say, and I'm on a public forum. So beyond just do I want to invite that level of just hate my way, combined with, okay, where do you go? And are people going to be cool? Are people going to be chill? Because like I said, back when we lived in our previous house, like literal strangers just show up at your front door. So I don't know. There's a lot more to consider that I never thought I would have to consider that I have to consider now. So.
Well, that, and I think with the $5 fine episodes, we when we would do those, Katie, we really needed the shop to kind of shut down.
Yeah, give us
where
free reign.
Yeah, or we'd need to come in when they weren't open, after hours, before hours, and that can be hard scheduling. There was, I think some of the ones we did in Nashville, we weren't able to have that sort of the store to ourselves. So we tried doing some stuff while they were actually open, and while we weren't disturbing their customers or anything, and we were able to film. They're often playing music on records spinning, and we would get copyright flagged, and that just means, there's no way to isolate the music out.
Yeah, we would get copyright flagged, in which case...
Yeah, YouTube doesn't allow you to, upload a new clip of a video. You have to, start over, take it all down. It's stupid. But...
It is what it is.
It's just, there's a lot more complications, even beyond, security-wise,
All right. Alexander, I have a 5.1.4 setup in a 13 by 12 by 7 room. Denon 3700H. Clips reference all the speakers. What I'm missing compared to RP or more premium series, is it worth upgrading? I don't believe that it would necessarily be, unless you yourself have identified exactly what it is that you think you're missing. I can't blanketly say, is the reference a demonstrable difference or upgrade, or reference premier demonstrable difference or upgrade from regular reference. Some of the current reference line of speakers were not my favorite, but there were some, like the R50, which is a two-way bookshelf, I found to be exceptional for a lot of use cases. That doesn't mean it's the best speaker ever made. It's just exceptional for a lot of use cases. In which case, if you're one of those people and it's working for you and you've got your subs dialed in just right, would going up to a 600M Mark II be a night and day difference? Maybe not. Maybe not, especially in a room where, if I don't know if your couch is flat up against a wall or if it's out into the room and the speakers have a foot or two to breathe. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, you have 13 feet and your speakers are out a foot or two from the wall. So now we're talking about 11 feet, and your couch isn't flat up against the wall and it's 3 feet. Well, now you're at the kind of optimal listening triangle. And if it's still jiving for you, you're fine. The only thing new speakers are going to do is potentially take up more real estate and force you to have to make adjustments everywhere else, and that may not be worth it for you. Maybe it is. Maybe you're just itching for something different. But if you haven't identified for yourself the thing that you want to chase next, it's very hard for me to say if even the reference premiere is what you should be looking at. Speaking of in the beginning, early days, what would be your top 3 buy on-site albums today? Oh, dude. God, I want to answer this question, but I can't rip them off the top of my head, like what I'm missing or what I remember coming across in our shows that I'm like, oh.
You should have gotten that.
I should have gotten that. Because I have Tools, Enema, I've got Moby's Play, multiple versions of it now.
Didn't you get a first pressing of something?
You got a first pressing of Gwen Stefani, or No Doubt.
Oh, that's right.
I got you the first pressing of that. There's only one album I don't have that I would love to get my hands on. It's the first pressing of Dave Matthews Band, Before These Crowded Streets. I have the rest of his discography that he has released on vinyl. I don't have that. I haven't been able to find it. All right, actually, I take that back. I have found it, but the person that had it, I would say knew what they had, but it was a price I was not willing to pay. Other than that, I just don't know. I just don't know.
What I loved about the $5 fines was just coming across random albums and having the journey of...
Yeah, we have a Barbra Streisand album that was just random.
The nostalgic journey of seeing a record cover and being like, oh my gosh, that really brings me back to X time. Remember I bought that Steve Martin
comedy album,
Wild and Crazy Guy. Remember it was a black and white cover and it had
him wearing rabbit ears.
No, it was like a chicken or a arrow or...
Oh, maybe it was Arrow, yeah.
It was something like that. And I just remember...
Thank you.
I really do remember listening to that all the time when I was a kid. And so when I saw it in the store, I was like, oh my God, remember? Or coming across something and not knowing who they were, even though I should have, and Andrew laughing at me, or just stumbling across.
He was in License to Drive. It was Corey Haim. Who's this guy? I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
Said with the confidence of an army on camera. She was like, no, you know. Even the woman that was at Luna Records in Nashville, and she was like, I wasn't going to say anything, but she went for it. I'm like, oh God, that's still like top 10 best moments. Like just best moments.
Or like finding an album, an old jazz album or a blues record or something.
The best album that we have found so far, and we never filmed this, obviously, but was it an Ella Fitzgerald? We found it in Honfleur, France, at the street market.
Well, we got an Edith Piaf.
Edith Piaf, sorry, that's the one. That album was a banger.
Yeah.
Not just for the nostalgia of we were there getting married, but like, no, it legitimately, like, it's an album I never heard before. It absolute freaking banger, straight fire. For the Macintosh review you had the EQ set at 50% bass frequency and treble was fully to 100 starting. Okay, Demand, you win the Eagle Eye. You win the Eagle Eye Award. I knew when I was editing the C55 portion of that video, the mistake you just caught, someone was gonna come back and it was gonna bite me in the ass. In a good way. Those are not settings. What you noticed on the dial were not settings. This is so embarrassing because normally I'm such a stickler and my focus for attention to detail is better than this. Just before taking the close-up dolly shot of the EQ knobs with compressed air and a microfiber cloth, I blasted off every knob and then I wiped down every knob. Obviously the knobs are not stepped, they're not whatever, they're infinitely variable. And so when you run a cloth over them, they move. I did not put them back to 0, slipped my mind. You are not looking at settings. I realized that in editing. I almost reshot that entire portion of B-roll because I was like, someone's gonna think that every time I get a preamp or a speaker, I take that treble and I crank it so I must be deaf or I must not know what I'm doing or I suck all the bass out. It was as innocent as I was literally trying to get the dust off of it and I forgot to.
Because you guys will notice that too.
Yeah, you'll notice that too, or a Katie hair, and I just forgot to zero them out. I apologize. Love you guys. Just want to say thank you, Daniel. We really appreciate it. Front Seat Racing, 100. Thank you. I hope that's not the speed you're driving right now, but thank you. Sorry if you've already covered this, but have you all considered Patreon? Casual viewer for many years. We have considered Patreon. The problem with that is again, it just comes down to bandwidth. I want to be perfectly clear. I'm super appreciative of everything that we have. I'm super appreciative of the success that we have been able to enjoy. And I'm not ever telling you stories of what it's like to be on this side of things or sharing our experiences. I'm never doing that for the sympathy or for money. I'm doing that because it makes me feel connected in a weird way, in a hobby, in an environment that can be very singular, disjointed, and stuff like that. I know what Patreon could do. I do, but I also think that I want to get to a point where we have everything that we need and we're able to just do our job with a little bit of freedom and a little bit more free time so that we're able to enjoy ourselves and this life that we've built. But there's a line in Forrest Gump where there's only so much a man needs and then the rest is just for showing off. I'm trying to find that balance of what we need so that everything is good. And I just kind of feel like new channels, new ventures, new this, new that can be great for the soul, can be great, and they work out for a lot of people. I worry that if the optics of that, if we were to do something like that, like it would just look like yet another cash grab, if you will. And we're already dealing with enough of that. So, like I said, everyone's journey, everyone's boat that they have to navigate the seas of life through is going to be a little bit different. And I'm just trying to figure out what the right heading is for us. It's something we've considered, but that's about as far as we've taken it. And I think this is last but not least. Steve Wheeler. I run a 2.1 system for movies and music. I have a Polk R600. Should I go Yamaha 1008 or Marantz M1? I can't say because I don't know what you're coming from. Both are going to be fine. If you're itching for that change or you're building a system, a 2.1 system, both are going to be fine. The 1008 does have room correction, which may or may not benefit you. The Marantz M1 does not have that, and the room correction, could matter. That could be the difference maker. Other than that, they're both very capable, comparable. Obviously, you're saving some money with the Marantz, including some physical space. But both are fantastic. They really, really are. It's just going to maybe come down to, are you okay with Class D, and do you or do you not feel you're going to need room correction? Because wipeout can be great. All right, Clem. I think Clem started us off, and I think Clem's going to take us out.
Yeah,
he's one of the first.
Among
the first. Another great live. Have a great weekend. See you Sunday, and thank you for all that you do. Clem, couldn't have said it better myself. That will conclude today's marathon live stream. That might be a record. That might be the longest one we've ever done. I'm showing almost 4 hours.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm showing 3 hours and 57 minutes. So thank you guys so very much. I feel like I signed off already. So thank you for everything. I appreciate you guys hanging out and just sharing your time with us. So thank you. That's it for us. You know the drill. Sunday, guys, 9 a.m. I get it. It's not going to be for everybody. If nothing else, tune in for the first couple of minutes because the preview of the product that's also shown, I think it's kind of cool. And like I said, some of our design-focused viewers, I think you're gonna dig it because I don't know many people that are talking about it. So, anywho, that's it for us. See you Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. If you're a college football fan, it is game day starting tonight. Game day. Anyway.
I have turned my babe into a full-on college football fan. In fact, we were watching the Cowboy game last night. And he looked at me and he was like, "You've ruined me. You've ruined me with college football." He's like, the energy is so much better. And I was like, I told you this.
All right. So anyway.
Glad you're on board.
You caught up.
Go Horns.
So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you Sunday morning. And until then, enjoy the rest of your day.
And take care of each other.
Take care of each other. Bye.